out and we get things going. Waiting for it to show me. All right. Well, looks like we're recording. Welcome to Leadership Academy number 2. It is officially September 5th, 2019, and 4 o'clock. We got the next 2.5 hours for an action-packed agenda. How is everybody doing? Good. All right. Yeah. Hopefully a little bit more motivation from there. I'm always going to start off with that so you can unmute yourself. For those of you who are unfamiliar, my name is Nick Matlack, the Division Manager of the Great Plains Division, and I am fired up about 2020. I am fired up about the future of our organization and the direction that we are headed. A couple of things that I want to discuss with everybody to begin. You know, one of the things is we are 3 days in to the fall campaign. Really only 2 days in because it's Thursday and we had an 8-day week, right? So we have 17 weeks left for the year, and this is the most exciting time, in my opinion, to be in the business nationwide, but especially in our division. One of the reasons is that the fall campaign is the most exciting campaign of the year, right? More and more people are spending money. People are cooking more. It's getting cooler outside. They're baking goods, right, to give. Also, we have a lot of holidays. In fact, there's like one every single month. I think about Labor Day, and then we have Halloween, and then we have Olean. That's definitely a holiday. And then we have, Thanksgiving, right? And then we have Christmas, and then we have the New Year, and then we're into a brand new year. So pretty crazy. And raise your hand if you feel like 2019 has just flown by for you. Anybody feel like that? Like, how is it September already, right? So here's the thing. It's going to be Christmas tomorrow. And, that means we're also going to be making decisions on territories by tomorrow. So I'm really pumped up about the timing of the year. Another big reason it's the best time of year to be in Cutco is because Leadership Academy has just begun. And if you're watching this recording or, this is catching up or something, hey, here's the deal. We've gone through the transition month of August. We're into the new month of September. And it's an exciting time for you to think about what you can accomplish in the next 17 weeks, especially in our division. We've got Cutco booths at all types of different events throughout the state. And what I love about Cutco is the more people see it, the more people start to know about it, and the more easy it is for us to get more purchases, right? If you don't know, we are 1 week away today from starting the Oklahoma City State Fair. Pretty awesome. We have 4 different booths throughout the fair, and last year they sold just under 350,000 CPO at the fair. And now price has gone up, and we have more marketing and more shifts and events than we've ever had before. Not to mention the weather report is looking a heck of a lot better than last year with all the rain that we had. So I'm looking forward to that. Right after that, we then have the Tulsa State Fair. Sold 150 grand there. So it is a very exciting time to be in our business. I hope you're looking forward to that, no doubt. I want you to write down 2020, best year ever. Who would love to have the best year of their life in 2020? Anybody down to do that? Yeah. Yeah? I think about going through my childhood. I think about looking forward to 2020, and I think about in 2020, I always thought about, that was the year that the world ends, right? Or all these, catastrophic movies, and things like that. And now we're there, 2020. It's crazy. I'm 33 years old, and I'm so excited to have the best year of my life. And I want to share that with other people that want to have the best year of their life. And one of the things I like to tell people is you can't just flip a switch. You can't just flip a switch. You have to build momentum, and you have to strategize. You have to have some rituals. You have to have some habits. So I want you to, in your notes right now, think about what types of habits do you need to change and you need to move forward with as we continue to build and we continue to grow. That being said, one of the things I really want to discuss with you guys right now is our vision. And as the Great Plains Division, we want to be a company of growth. And we're working on finalizing our mission statement right now. But what I know is the following. We are a company that grows people. And one of the things I love, we're in Edmond right now. Edmond has a sign that says, a great place to grow. And it's been rated one of the safest and nicest places to raise a family in the United States, right? Which is really neat. And I think about their tagline, a great place to grow. When I think about Great Plains Division, it is a great place to grow. It's a great place for you to grow into the best version of yourself. Something I love about Vector is it's made me the best version of myself, and I certainly know it continues to do that after 13 years. So when we go into 2020, I want to talk about where we've been and where we're headed. Many of you know when I moved out here in 2016, the division was in shambles. There was one office underperforming at $100,000, and I said, hey, we're going to fix this. And in the first 8 months, we developed a couple of other offices, and we sold just under $1 million in 2016 right off the bat. It was an exciting place to be. That being said, in 2017, right, we had a total of 8 offices. And those 8 offices accomplished just over $2 million. Literally, it was like a few thousand over every order, every rep counted. And then in 2018, we grew that to over 2.4 million. And as of right now, we're accomplishing just over about 1.4 million bucks. Now, if I add up the pilot goals and I add up all the other 4 district office goals, we're in a position right now where we're going to have another growth year as a division. Now, it's not going to be the growth we wanted. The initial goal was to go after 3.5 million this year. I think we'll be in the neighborhood of about 2.7 to $3 million. But man, what does that look like in 3 years to have a division that grows by $3 million? Isn't that exciting? And so as we move forward, what I want you to write down is the mission that we're shooting for in 2020, and that is $4 million. When I think about $4 million and where that's going to come from, it's going to come from full deployment. Many of you know that throughout the division, we have 20 separate territories, and we could probably even have more than that. And right now, we only have 5 of those locations that are open. We're looking for filling at least another 5 district managers, and we're looking for another 10 branch managers. And if there's a territory that you think could be a great option for you and you're not, and it's not on the list right now, hey, let me know and let's talk about it. But what that means is that we need to find a way to get out of the 40 to 50 candidates throughout the state. We need to narrow that down to about 15 to 20, right? And so I really want you to ask the question, how bad do I want it? And what am I doing to put myself in a position of choice where I can do that? Because when we have 20 offices, right, and we break that down of how we sell $4 million, well, it's not going to be equal on every office. But here's the way I see that vision, right? The first thing I see happening is the pilot office getting into a position of strength and doing about half of that. And I firmly believe that as we develop more leaders like Britton and Jerry and Brandon, right, and a lot of our new up-and-comers, we're going to be in a position where we can definitely have the development with the CSPs to knock out that $2 million mark in the pilot. Does that make sense? So $2 million comes from the pilot. All right. The second thing that needs to happen is we need to have around $1.5 million come from our district manager team. Now, currently we have 4 district managers that are out there, right? And this is Melissa and Bailey and Carissa and Tyler, but we need 5 more. And when I think about having a total of 9 district managers plus the pilot, right? If the pilot does 2 million, those other 9 do 1.5 million. Well, a couple of those need to do 3 and 400,000, and then a couple might be new and do a couple 100,000, right? And then that last 500 grand is going to come from our branch manager team. Now, I certainly know that we have people in the list right now, like Claire Beckman and some others, that can rip it up this summer and do 100, 200, possibly even more, right? But at the same time, I know that there's some branch managers that might be new, that might flop a little bit. But if we can have 10 branch managers knock out $50,000 a piece, that produces another $500,000. So I just want to walk you through what the vision looks like and what we're going after and working towards as we move forward. Sound cool? So I want you to just think about this and put yourself in a position of choice, act as if, and ask yourself, what role do I want to play in 2020? And I want you to write down 3 things. What are 3 things you'd like to accomplish in 2020? Is that opening up your first branch? Is that opening up as a district office? Is that having your first $100,000 year? Right? What amount of CPO is going to come from you? Whether it's personal sales or it's also your office's sales. And how will you contribute? But the number one thing that needs to happen is we need 20 offices. And how much more fun is it going to be when those 20 offices are competing head-to-head for our different division meetings and our different conferences throughout the summer, right? I can't wait to see some of the matchups of branch managers versus new districts versus veterans, right? The trophies that we can produce and give out, right? The lack of having to drive all the way down to Austin again. Yeah, that's pretty good too, right? We can get a lot of that time back to ourselves. It's going to be fun. So what needs to happen to put yourself in that position is you need to become the best version of yourself. And so I want you to write down best version of me. And what are some things that you're doing right now that are in alignment with becoming the best version of yourself? So what are some things that come to mind when it comes to being the best version of yourself?
Share?
Yeah, for sure.
Not just showing up physically, showing up emotionally as well as mentally to every single thing that you do, and having an objective with every single thing that you do.
I love that. So if you didn't catch that, I'm going to recite it again, but Ayami just mentioned being present. Being present mentally, physically, and emotionally in everything that you do, and being in the moment. I think that we live in the age of distraction when there's so many different things pulling us one way or another. And I definitely am guilty of being the person that, is like squirrel, right? It's like da squirrel, right? And then I do some squirrel, right? And I'm not very focused and very present. I was listening to a book recently that said, or not a podcast with my wife and Timmy, and every time you have a distraction, like you respond to a text or an email, it's not 10 seconds or 30 seconds. It actually takes you more than 2 minutes on average to get back into the zone and focus on what you were doing. So I want you to think about that. Over 2 minutes every distraction, and how many hundreds of distractions do we allow ourselves to have on a daily basis? That's where your time is going. So I love that. Being the best version of yourself means being present. What else can we present and can we share?
Making a plan, having a plan of what you're going to do every day, having a weekly plan, and just preparing in advance, living proactively, and not just living reactively to situations that happen.
Cool. So Eric Soto, great share, previous branch manager, just talked about being proactive versus reactive and being in a position where you have a plan for everything that you're doing, right? The difference between having a dream and having a goal is planning it out and writing it down. And so you can get a lot more out of your week and out of your day if you just have a plan for it. Make sense? So I love that. Thank you for the share. Cool. We should get back into one claps. One clap. 1, 2, 3. All right. Awesome. Some of you are delayed. Pick it up. Okay, good. Who's next? Any other shares? Yeah.
Staying around people who bring out the best in you. Builds you up while you work to build them.
Cool. So putting yourself in a position of who you're influenced by, right? And I heard a while, Josiah Gruen just shared with us, but I heard a while back, there was a quote that said, the person you're becoming in the next 5 years is no different than the person you are today, aside from the books you read and the people you surround yourself with. So definitely something to consider and look forward to. So great job. Thank you. One clap. 1, 2, 3. All right. Well, I'm going to kind of cut it off there just for time purposes. Here's a few other ideas to write down about best version of yourself. One of those is reading more. Right? 5 pages a day goes a long way. Many of you know we have the Leadership Academy, right? Required readings. I want to recognize Adam Goff. He actually told me that he already ordered all of the required books off of Amazon, and now he's just waiting for them to come in. So he has all the reading material already there, and then he can just start to do it, right? Pretty cool. So pick a book. Also, I was talking to Seth Fry earlier, and he's close to finishing the Total Money Makeover, and he brought up an interesting share, and he said, I was about to buy a car and have a $400 car payment, and then I read the Total Money Makeover and realized that if I were to do that, I'd be spending a lifetime of hourly pay on just the interest. So I'm not going to be buying a car like that anymore. Pretty powerful, right? The amount of education that you can get out of a job like ours because of who you surround yourself with and the success that they've had is, in my opinion, priceless. I don't know if there's any other company that has the wealth of knowledge or leadership that we have that's willing to share, right? Many companies, they're very cutthroat. They don't want to share because if I share with Olivia, then Olivia learns it and then she takes the promotion that I wanted. So I'm not going to share with you, right? It's very much exclusive versus inclusive where we want everybody to grow and get better. Another thing you could write down is journaling. The power of journaling. I learned this from Trent Booth, but 3 times 30 challenge. And his challenge was to gain emotional awareness 3 times a day for 30 days. And so I set alarms on my phone. I've never removed them. They still go off. And at 9 a.m., 3 p.m., and 9 p.m. at night, I have an alarm that goes off on my phone as a reminder that says, check your emotions. And by the way, when I was doing the exercise, I committed to journaling 3 times a day for 30 days straight. And by doing so, I put myself in a position where I was able to gain a ton of awareness about who I was. And a lot of times the midday update wasn't a good one. And you know why? It's because I hadn't eaten. And I got hangry. And if I just started eating a snack, I was in a much better place mentally and emotionally. Pretty interesting, right? And one last one I would write down is either Audible or something like podcasts. And I'm going to give you one to check out. It's by a region manager. His name is Dan Cassetta, one of the most decorated veterans in our company. And he's been interviewing other decorated veterans. And he has a podcast. It's about 30 to 45 minutes. Comes out, I believe, once a week. He's interviewed our region manager, Lloyd Reagan. He's interviewed Joe Cardillo. He's interviewed guys like Trent Booth. He's interviewed some of the top reps in the company. And every single time, the things that some of them are alumni. They've left the business. But every single time, two things are common, right? Number one, they got their start with success with vector marketing and Cutco, right? And the second thing is that they are very, very successful in whatever they're doing. It's pretty awesome. So again, just taking the time, right? And joining Automobile University instead of throwing on, Chance the Rapper and whoever you listen to, right? Throw in some good stuff, right? Like some amazing mental and emotional awareness that can help you out. So again, what are you doing to become the best version of you? We're going to shift gears real quick and talk about a few other things to promote. The first thing is Olean. So I do want to recognize the people who have officially signed up for Olean. Really fired up about that. By the way, it is not too late to sign up, but spots are filling quickly. The dates on the trip, you can look in your email, but October 24th through the 27th, it's going to be a blast. We fly you up to Buffalo, New York. We actually bus you out to the factory. We hang out with a bunch of other people. The other cool part is many of you remember last year how we were there at the same time as another region. Well, this year, the other region's not going to be there. So we're going to have the whole factory to ourselves, the CEOs to ourselves. We are literally going to get the private tour with nobody else there. So we're really lucky this year for making the dates work like that. The other benefit is that being out there, we're going to have more people on the trip. We're going to break a record as a region than ever before. More people from one region on the Olean trip than has ever been done. So we're really looking forward to that, but we will still run out of room. So if you've not signed up, get yourself signed up ASAP. And remember, you don't have to pay for it out of pocket. I was talking to Josiah about that. You don't supply a credit card number or anything like that. You can take the payments out of your commission account. And then once you sell that Olean homemaker, bam, it's rocked out and you're good to go. So I want you to write down an assignment for all of you, and that is best 5. Who are your best 5 prospects that you could sell your Olean homemaker to? And I want all of you to think about, right, how you can get on that trip and how you can knock that out. All you got to be at is over 2K in career sales to sign up. And then, of course, you need to be somebody who has an interest in running an office. Don't forget, guys, that you have all the way until the end of September to sign up. But once the spots are filled, then everybody goes onto a waiting list. We don't want that. We want to get you a spot now. So the sooner you sign up, the better. And I can also tell you that for the veterans who've been on the trip, it is well worth it. So put that in your schedule. Don't forget, it's a $1,500 trip, and you're getting it for only $750 or a homemaker plus 8 that's commission free, and knock that out. With prices going up, this is a perfect year and perfect time for you to be able to knock out an urgency phrase and get somebody who has a promised sale. So a couple ideas here with selling your Olean homemaker. Who's a past customer that bought a lot, that might have paid off their payments, that would want to buy from you now? Who's somebody who promised you that they wanted Cutco, but now was not the best time that you could reach back out to? Who's a family member that's always buying nice things and likes supporting you, right? If you really tied them into your goals and why you need somebody to sponsor you for the trip, they'd probably buy it, right? And the last one, who are your best 5 prospects and your best 5 demos to go out there and do some appointments? We got to remember that the average rep nationwide sells 1 out of 10 homemakers. So keep that in mind, right? That if you haven't done 10 demos, it's probably why you haven't sold a homemaker, right? And all you got to do is knock out 1 homemaker before Christmas, and that covers the whole cost of the trip. So if you have any questions, let me know. But now is the time to get signed up. Now is the time to start to work towards the 2 minimum requirements, $6K in career sales before we go on the trip, and $600 in startup. And I know that every week we'll be recognizing skills, sales, and savings, and building that as we move forward. So pretty cool. If you have any questions, ask your manager, and we will go from there for sure. Next big thing I want to talk about.
Don't miss out.
Well, yeah, don't miss out. Thank you, Bailey, for sharing there. So next thing I'm going to do is share a document right now, and it's called Triple Threat. And I want you all to write down in your notes right now, skills, sales, and savings. If you haven't heard about this, these are the 3 things that your district manager team, as well as myself, rank you on. And right now I can promise you, I've got a list of everybody who is a candidate to potentially run an office, and I am constantly sharing, rearranging that, and messing around with it. So let me go ahead and share this document. Somebody is not on mute, and if you're not, please jump on mute. I'd appreciate it. So this is our RMD Triple Threat AM program, and here's the deal. Oh, it looks like it's Laura, so we'll mute. Yeah, there you go.
I got it.
All right, thanks. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and talk about this, but this is for active assistant managers in the office. And this is something that came out of Drew Frank's division, Rocky Mountain, my old division that I grew up in. And basically what it states is We don't wear our emotions. By the way, for those of you here, you guys can take one and pass it around. I got a copy for you. But it says, we don't wear our emotions on our sleeve. We wear our promotions. And it says what you can win, right? Well, it's a night out with your DVM. Now, we're not going to go up to Colorado for Drew and Kevin, but it'd be a night out with me. So this is going to be fun. Make me pay for a nice meal for you, and it helps your office and yourself become a leader in the division. It earns your assistant manager bracelets and milestones, and you become known as one of the best in the division. So how do you win? Well, there's three things. That's why we call it triple threat. Number one, hitting Dirty 30 and hitting 10K for the campaign. I had a really eye-opening conversation with Kinsey last week, and we talked about 3 demos a week. No one's too busy to do 3 demos a week. But guys, 3 demos a week times 15 weeks would be 45 appointments. Right? At an 80% close, you'd knock out about 36 orders, and in a $300 average order, you're knocking out a total of 11 grand, right? So that means every campaign you're hitting Dirty 30. And even if you're not at 10K right now, how great would it be to knock out 10K in the fall, 10K in the spring, and possibly 10K for the January competition, right? You could sell over 30 grand between now and next May when you open. And even if you're at 0 right now, that means you'd make close to $9,000. Plenty of money to save, plenty of money to pour in your startup. Number 2, team builder. Getting 3 friends on the team in the next 4 months. I don't think anybody's in a position where all of their friends have been contacted. And even if you were, your friends' lives change, right? Think about how often people are transitioning between jobs. So what are you doing to try to share the opportunity? Many of you are in new classes. You've met new people. Listen, we're going to find them whether you want us to or not, because that's our job as recruiters. So it's a lot better if they hear about the job through you than through, right, just on campus. And again, if they hear about it through you, you get the PR credit for that, which is a really big deal. Then you can compete for winning the Team Builder Scholarship. And of course, it counts towards your triple threat. The last one is scheduling 50 PRs, right, for interviews. These don't have to be personally PRs. These can be any PRs. But again, are you booking your 50? Are you finding a way to do that? I think about 15 weeks, that's 3 a week. And as an assistant manager, our standard is 5, right? So even if you're, having a couple tough weeks or you're out of town, you can still knock out this mission. Below that, by the way, it says bonus career sales milestone awards, 25K, 50K, 100K, always something to look forward to. And how to win? Well, assistant managers, for each category 1 within the campaign, you earn a new bracelet. If you hit all 3, you get to go on the night out. By the way, district managers qualify for the night out by having 3 triple threat AMs and or having 7 on staff for the campaign, no breaks, all 7 minimum 1K for the campaign. And just so you know, nobody's lost yet because this is week 1. So you can definitely, as a district manager, add some people to pay and have 7 on staff starting this week, never dip below 7 all the way through the next 17 weeks, and you automatically are going out on the triple threat dinner as well. So I hope you're looking forward to that. Wanted to make sure I ran that by you, and we did it. All right, last exercise that we're going to talk about, skills, sales, and savings, right? Let's talk about skills. Well, it's really simple to do a job like this. And there's a document I have that I have pulled up, but I'll email out. It's called Manager Key Skill Set Mastery. Looks like this, and it's got all the key skills you need to get good at. You guys can take one and pass it around. But when it comes to skills, every week picking one of these to practice, to role play, and to get better at. When it comes to sales, right, I really want you guys to be consistent and always be shooting for and hitting Dirty 30. And I think about having 5 offices fully staffed with 7 AMs. That means we'd have 35 AMs on pay. If we had 35 AMs on pay that were all knocking out 10K plus, that's $350,000 right there for just our AMs. That's a lot of business. Then we add our new reps, then we add the rest of the team, then we add our CSPs. Well, you can see how we're getting to 1.5 million plus, right? But what it takes is that dedication for every one of you knocking out 10. Cool. If you want to go for bigger than that, that's great. But again, reminder, got to get your goals broken down. And the third and final thing is the savings, right? And when it comes to savings, we got to remember branch managers, $2,000 to $5,000 saved, and for district managers, we'd like you to have $5,000 to $10,000 saved before you open up in May. So again, what is your plan to be able to A, create that kind of money, and B, make sure that it's in a management account so that we can definitely consider you to run an office? Cool? All right. So as we wrap up with the last 5 minutes before I bring up our first guest speaker, I do want to give you a quick exercise. And the exercise is this. It's called the 10 Commandments. And I really believe that one of the best life skills that you can have for yourself is setting goals and writing them down. There was a Harvard University study that studied a graduating class, and they took about 10% of the class and told them to write down what they'd be worth in the next 30 years, right? Write down how much money they'd have, where they'd live, things like that. And they were very specific, very detailed. It was a class project before they graduated. 30 years later, they looked up the reports on those Harvard graduates. And by the way, 90% of the graduating class that hadn't written down their goals, they all graduated from the same year from Harvard, right? Versus the 10% that wrote down their goals. The 10% that wrote down their goals was worth more than the other 90% combined because they wrote down their goals. Thinking about goals doesn't count. Writing them down does. So I want you to write down 2 lists for yourself, and you're probably not going to have the time to figure it out right now. But the first list is, what are your 10 commandments with Vector? For some of you, I saw that, I forgot who it was. I think it was Sept. He posted earlier, here are my big 5 for the fall, right? But what are your 10 commandments? Non-negotiables, no matter what, every week, these 10 things get done within Vector. I consider things like how many calls you make per week. I'd consider things like how many demos you have ahead of you. I'd consider things like how many times you go to your office. I'd consider things like having a PC with my manager every week. I'd consider things like, hey, can I make sure that I have a planning session with myself for the next 7 days with my planner for an hour, right? I think about things like role play. What would happen if you role played just something for 30 minutes 2 times a week like it was a class, right? Can you imagine how much better you would get, right? Just little fundamental commandments like that. 100 leads on your list. What would that look like? And I could go on, but I want you to write down at least 3 for yourself and then finalize that within the next 24 hours. The second list, by the way, is the 10 commandments personally. What are the 10 commandments you're going to live by in a personal life? I'll be out of bed by blank every morning. Now, if you want an exception to that or you get sick, well, it's your life, right? But again, what could you do with that? How about exercise? How about drinking water? How about reading a book? How about journaling or listening to a podcast? How about doing something that's not Vector related or school related? One of the things that's really kept me sane over the last 13 years is having a date night with my wife every single week. We've never missed. This week we moved it to another day, but we still had it. And number 2 is making sure that no matter what, right, I get to play soccer. I do something soccer related because that's my thing. And having an injury back in February, full rupture of the Achilles, man, it's been a tough year with not being able to exercise as much, but I've still found a way to watch soccer, or I found a way to watch, my kids play soccer, or now that I'm walking again, I'm able to practice with them, right? But doing something like that is extremely productive, right? That is something that gets outside of your head and something different, right? So again, 2 lists, 10 commandments personally, 10 commandments professionally. And I'd love for you to knock out that list in the next 24 hours. And the assignment that you have is once you've made the list, I want you to make it public. Can you post it out on Facebook? Or could you make a poster of it and put it on the front of your door for your bedroom? Or maybe write it on the back of your mirror. When I was in school, I used to forget about these assignments that I had, right? With my coach, my financial coach with Rising Stock. And I was making a lot of money. And so what I learned to do is that I had to hold myself accountable. So every time I'd have a call with my Rising Stock coach, which was once a month, I would take my assignments, which typically weren't more than 5 or 7. I'd write them onto a sticky note or a note card, and I would write it 3 different times. I'd put one on the dashboard of my car. I'd put another one on the mirror of my bathroom. And I put the other one on my studio desk at school because those are the 3 places that I spent the most time. Does that make sense? If you were to make your 10 commandments personally and professionally and have even just a small note card that they're written on, how much more often would you be aware of it? And how much more often would you be disciplined with following it? Pretty cool thought. So those are the opening comments for today. I hope you gained a lot of value out of them. I'm fired up to dive into the actual material that we've got and to move the meeting forward. What we're going to have is our featured guest speaker, Bailey Homan. And Bailey is our newest addition to the district manager table, but he is a veteran, been with the company now for over 3 years, as of I think this week or next week. So he's about to approach that next milestone. And Bailey is one of my best friends, somebody that I really respect. He's somebody that I would call a business partner, but also a loyal friend. I trust him with my kids, trust him with my family. He's somebody that's just done wonders for my life and for our division. And I don't think there's anybody better to bring a message about what to focus on for the fall and how to really treat your training seriously. And I really believe that what you put in with Vector is what you get out. And that's something that never changes, whether you're a rep or you're a manager or whatever that may be. He just had a $100,000 summer. He also developed a couple of reps to knock out, 10K and also to knock out their Dirty 30 promotion. And he's in the territory that has been nationally ranked in the past down in Norman. And he's going to be bringing the fire. 1 month from now, our whole district manager team, in fact, the whole company gets to go out to St. Louis for free. That's how cool our company is. They pay for the flights, the food, the hotel, everything. And we get to learn from the best of the best in the business. I know Bailey's fired up about that and building momentum into it. So he's got 15 minutes right now to give you some tips on how to take your training seriously and how to really focus on the things that matter the most for the fall. So let's go ahead and begin with a big round of applause, Mr. Bailey Hellman. Big round of applause. Bigger than that. All right. I'm going to pin your video.
I can't hear you yet. Keep going.
All right. Yeah, we'll work on that. So sounds good. Well, go ahead, and the floor is yours, and I'll pin your video, and we'll get things going.
Cool. So the number one thing that, just like it says, what to focus on for the fall, whatever you're going to focus on, no matter what in your life, that is what you're going to want to go after. And I'm reading a book right now, or listening to a book, however you want to talk to about both of it. And it's just talking about the power of our mentality and the power of our minds. When we were a kid, we thought about, becoming whatever we wanted to do, and our imagination. And how much of that imagination we put in, well, all of those things have more than likely became true in our life in one form or another. And so the more that you're thinking about what you want to accomplish this fall, whether it be in school, for the business, or whatever, that's what's going to happen, and that's what's going to become reality. And it all starts with how you're thinking and what your mentality is. And so the first thing that you can write down for what to focus on for the fall is treat this like school. If you're in school, well, are you treating this like an hour class or a 2-hour class that you're supposed to go to every single week? Now, of course, you only have to come to class once a month, and that is for these 2-hour sessions. But are you going to take the time each week to knock out each assignment? Are you going to focus your time and energy on making sure that you're gaining the best skills for what you're going to be doing? We're about to give, if you're running a branch, $8,000. Are you focused and committed to putting in the effort that we're about to give you $8,000 that you don't have to pay back? And if you're interested in a district, are you putting the actions and the energy and the focus for us to give you $22,000? And if the answer is no, well, you should put into your schedule these couple things. So the first thing is, how is your interview? And the first assignment that we had was, have you recorded your pre-screen so that you know exactly what you're doing? If you haven't done that, you definitely should plan a time with your district, your manager, whoever it is, so that you can start to run an interview and get into that. But the business comes down to 3 main things. And the first one is your interview. So are you focused on getting into the office a little bit more? Are you talking to your district manager and saying, hey, what things can I do to help out in the office so that I can start to run an interview? By the way, maybe it's just interviewing your friends and getting them onto the team in your dorm room. Dude, come check out this job. It's a lot of fun, whatever, and getting them in. Cool. You're still running an interview and you're still recruiting people onto it. The second thing that you should be focused on is your PR mastery. How good are you about promoting and getting the job out there and telling not just your friends, but everyone about the job? And there are tons of people out there that you could be able to get onto. Maybe it's helping out on campus and getting your recruiting for that way. Maybe it's your social media. But are you focused on those little things that are going to help you? And again, all it takes is an hour a week, 2 hours a week that you put into your schedule, that you're going to focus on these things just like a class. This is Vector University. And are you going to work the class? The only reason why you go to class at a normal school is because you pay for it. Well, guess what? We're paying you, but we're only want to pay you that. And this is going to pay you back tenfold. So are you going to take that opportunity for it to be able to help you and pay you even more than the 22 grand that we're going to end up giving you? The third thing that you should be focused on is about managing reps. And the number one thing that you can do for this is managing yourself. Are you having the schedule locked down each week for getting these assignments done, but your normal assignments and everything else? And so are you managing yourself so that you can learn the skills that it takes so that you can help to manage other people? And so, those are kind of the 3 things most important that you should be going after. Now, a couple things that are going to help you out with all of that as well is mastering the programs and the scripts. So how to do this, like I said, is treating it like school, but it is taking ownership. If you're an assistant manager, which most of you should be on here, are you taking ownership of your office? Are you treating it as if you are already a district manager? Are you treating it as if you are already a branch manager? Or are you just like, well, I'm an AM and I'm not ready, so I don't want to take on these responsibilities? Well, let me tell you, you're never going to feel ready. Absolutely, you're never going to feel ready. But in 8 months' time, if you were to look at the end in mind, do you feel like in 8 months after doing the program and taking the program the right way, do you feel like you'll be a little bit more ready? Yeah, exactly. So treat it as if you're already there and you're running it, because you are. You're an assistant manager and you're doing all of the things. You just don't have to pay the bills. So take advantage of that, because when you do open up, now all the bills and all the responsibility is on you. So make those mistakes, mess up. It's completely fine for you to be able to mess up, because that's where you're going to learn. That's where you're going to be like, oh, well, I did it wrong this time. The next time that I do that, I can be able to focus on getting better at one thing. You think about running an office as if you are a new rep. We tell you to what? Follow the manual, cut some food, and have fun. Well, managing and running an office is the same. You follow the program that we give you and help you out to running a business and getting it set up. You, of course, have fun, because if you're not having fun running your business, then it's not going to be fun. The things, more cutting food is surrounding yourself with great people. And that's what I love most about my job, is about the people that I get to surround myself. It's about impacting the people that I want to be able to impact. So are you taking the time to surround yourself with great people? And that's coming into the office and learning those skills and helping you out in what you're going to be able to do. But take ownership of your office. It is your office and you're in charge of everything that's going to be happening toward that. Now, I'd write this down, and is be a leader. And how to stand out are a couple things. So number one, to stand out is triple threat, just like Nick talked about. And you're going to stand out because one, you're improving your sales. You're being a leader for yourself and for all of the other people that you're leading in your office with it. By the way, recruiting. Well, you've got to recruit 3 friends on for triple threat. Well, why not get the skills of it now? So start getting your friends onto that. Start building onto that. If you're in school and they haven't told you, is think about your classroom PRs. And all it is a sheet of paper. And at the end of class, this helps you with, number one, your public speaking. But you just ask your professor, hey, professor, my job is actually looking for a couple positions to be able to fill. Do you mind if I take like 5 minutes at the end of class to just promote it out there? And almost every professor is going to be like, oh, absolutely. You're trying to help kids and whatever. Awesome. And so you stand up, you give a quick 5-minute promotional about what you're doing, what you're going to be able to build. And boom, by the way, all of those PRs can become your PRs. Boom. Now you've hit the recruiting of 3. And of course, is your savings. And again, this is the number one thing that I wish I would have done better at for myself, and that is savings. I would have been in a lot better position financially if I would have saved a lot more. I opened up my district with about 2,200, I think is what it ended up being saved. So definitely below that standard that we want. And if I had an extra 2 to 3 grand already saved up, how would I be feeling? Well, that could be the difference of maybe a little bit better of an office space. That could be the difference of being able to invest in a little bit more campus tables and getting out there with everything too. But the number one thing is about being that leader and standing out with, like I said, triple threat. The second thing on building on standing out is posting on GroupMe. You're going to have a GroupMe for your office. So why not start the habit now that you're posting out there and getting people to post out there and building that culture. By the way, I hated GroupMe. Absolutely hated it, because I don't like the spotlight and being able to do all of that. But, you've got to learn to love those things that you do hate. And now I post out all the time. And regardless if it's me, I want to promote for the people that are out there. And so, again, it's about that promotion. It's not for me. It is for your people. And you are promoting, yeah, you might think it's because you're trying to take the credibility for yourself, but it's not. You're being a leader by creating that action. And if they see you doing it, they want to follow right behind it. So are you going to stand out not only for the district manager, for the division manager, but are you going to stand out for your reps that are in your office? And you might not be managing them yet, but you're going to be doing that. And the other way that you can stand out is your reading. What books are you reading? Are you reading those assignments? By the way, yes, read those books, but are there other books that you're reading? Like I said, the book that I'm reading right now, and I know I'm on recording, but it's called Unfuck Yourself. And it's just about getting out of your head. We are as human beings for ourselves, I know for myself, I'm the worst critic. I always tear myself down. I always say that I could always be doing better. And it's getting out of that mentality and looking at it and saying, well, if you're thinking that, then you're going to take those actions on still doing that. And it's also about the willpower. If you are willing to put in the actions and the effort, the results are going to end up coming. But sometimes if you're not willing to do those things, so sometimes you got to be unwilling. Well, I'm unwilling to be broke. I'm tired of being broke. So you're going to take those action steps because you're unwilling to stay in the same point that you are right now. And so are you growing to stand out? Just like Nick said, you're going to be the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself in the books you read. So what books are you reading to stand out for yourself? The last thing that I will leave you with, and like I said, is what you focus on is going to become reality. So are you going to focus on all of the negative in your life? Are you going to focus on all of the bad things that are happening? Or are you going to take that and say, cool, what are the positives from this? Can I focus on being the best person possible? We have about 60 to 70,000 thoughts that run through our mind every single day. And if you learn to control your thoughts and imagine from the very end and get-go, not of what you're going to be at there, but know where you want to be and work that plan backwards and saying, okay, well, I'm going to open up an office. Well, if I'm going to open up an office, what does my office look like? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like?
Like it.
And you imagine those every day, day in and day out, and you're doing those constantly. Well, it's going to happen. It's just going to, plain and simple, because it's already at the end. And I did say I was going to end. Man, I am becoming more and more like Nick. So I guess my final thing that I will say is, I listened to a podcast. On a podcast, it was Michael Phelps, and it was when he won, like you said, medals. And he said, put in the video. His coach told him, put in the video. And that video was just him imagining that race over and over, day in and day out, of what it was like, of every single person in the competition, of every stroke and every motion. And in practice, when he was having to do the 100%, he said, all right, Mike Phelps, put in the video. And it was literally as it just became reality, because every single day he lived it out in his mind, and that became what happened. So focus on all of the importance in your life and the action steps. Forget the results. It doesn't matter, and it's going to be able to become reality for yourself. Thank you, guys.
A big round of applause. Nice job. All right. Anybody get some nuggets out of that? Yes? All right, good. Well, hopefully, one thing that I can say for all of us that would be valuable is to, if you have any nuggets, maybe during the meeting or afterwards, post them on the Leadership Academy. I know there's people right now that aren't able to be a part of it, but then they can review through that, and that gets them a little bit more excited about watching the recording, no doubt, and they can gain some good value. So thank you so much. Just to echo what Bailey said there, a few things just to put down in your notes. Number one, you're never going to feel like doing it, so do it anyway, right? You don't need more motivation. What you need is more discipline, just doing it. And in life, that's never going to change, right? Successful people make a habit of doing the things that unsuccessful people won't. The second thing is put yourself in a position of choice. Put in the work now so that you have options and choices ahead of you. Well, I don't know if I want to run an office. I don't know if I want you to run an office. So you know what? Do it anyway. Put yourself in a position of choice so that if it is an option or something that you want to do later, you're prepared for it. And that being said, act as if. I think we all need to just act as if we're going to run an office. What's the worst thing that happens? You're more valuable to your future employer, right? Your resume looks more stacked, so you're in a better job. I mean, there's nothing bad that can come from extra training, really, if you think about that. So put in the work, put in the effort, and it's definitely worth it. We're going to keep jumping in with our agenda because we've got an action-packed one for today. But, man, we could end the meeting now. I think this was really fired up. What we're going to talk about now is our skills teaching. And, again, every time we do this, we're hitting on a different topic. Tonight, the topic's going to be about managing reps. And I've got about a 60-minute message with 4 different handouts to review. So we're going to go through those real quick. And then we've got Claire doing a review of the pre-screen. Unfortunately, our recording from the initial Intro to Leadership Academy #1 did not happen because of an issue with electricity, and the computer died. So we don't have a recording of that. Fortunately, Drew Frank does, so I can send you the link if you need to make up for that. But either way, we're doing a review of the pre-screen, and I know Claire's fired up about delivering that before we do some role play. So let's dive in. The first document we're going to talk about is one of my favorite documents that's ever been made, and it's called The Power of Five. So if you guys all want to grab one of these, pass it around, that would be great. I'm going to go ahead and find that exact document, and I'll pull it up. You guys can also pull it up on your screen or on your computer. And just for the recording purposes, I'll pull it over here, and we'll be able to share it as well. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to share the screen in front of me, and you guys can have your own thing here. So let me go to screen share, and we'll throw this on. So here we go. Cool. All right, so here we are, and we're looking over the screen share. You guys can check this out. Some pretty good stuff. So first that I want to just discuss is a little bit more about the purpose of managing reps. And I want you to write down 3 things before we dive into this document, and that is belief, vision, confidence. As a manager, you do not manage results. Results come as the byproduct of you managing emotions, behaviors, and actions. So what you're really doing when you're managing somebody is you're influencing them. I talked to our district manager team earlier that management equals influence, right? And the way you influence people is you influence them with their beliefs, you influence them with their vision, right? What they're working towards, what they see for themselves, and you influence them with their confidence. Yes or yes, a lot of people, especially young people, struggle from self-confidence or lack of self-confidence, yes? A lot of people don't believe in themselves. One of my favorite quotes I learned a long time ago is sometimes you have to believe in the belief that others have in you in order to start believing in yourself. I can certainly tell you that I would not be the manager I am today. I don't even think I'd be with a company if it wasn't for somebody else believing in me. I don't even think I would have tried the job if the manager didn't believe that I could do it, right? And I don't definitely know that I wouldn't have sold 12K for my fast start if my manager didn't believe that I could put in the work and get it done. We're here because somebody else believed in us. My question to you is, who are you going to choose to believe in the future? Who are you going to choose to believe in right now? And one of the best ways to learn to believe in others is to learn to believe in who? Yourself. Let's talk about vision. People work harder when they know where they're headed. People work harder when they have something to look forward to. So what are your reps working towards? And also, when it comes to their confidence, how do you establish confidence? Well, you establish confidence through teaching something, them implementing it, and them getting the result, right? But keeping things simple. You know, I love the quote that life is pretty simple. We just choose to make it complicated. You know, that's so true with this business, right? Selling Cutco is pretty flippin' simple. We just choose to make it complicated, right? So what I've got is a couple of things for you to jot down in your notes before we dive into some of these docs. And that is the first thing. And this is how to help a rep be consistent. You know, I love the quote that Drew talks about all the time, how complacency is the enemy of consistency and success. So let me talk about if you want a rep to be consistent. Well, first off, there's only 4 reasons that a rep is not selling Cutco. Number 1, they're not doing enough demos. If a rep is not doing 5 or more demos a week, they're really not working, even if they're in school. You want to work during school? Well, then put in at least 15 to 20 hours a week, right? How do you fix that? Review the reasons, right, on why they want to work. Why are they working? And I'm going to help you with breaking down goals in a bit. Number 2 reason a rep isn't selling Cutco is they're not showing qualified clients. They're showing the wrong people. Time and time again, I see reps that go out there and the manager is not a tough coach on them showing what types of clients? MAC clients. And because they don't show max, or the max they show are not their best 5, they're their most comfortable 5, they go no sale, no sale, no sale, quit. A rep is only a few no sales away from quitting this job. Most reps. And I don't know if you've ever had it, but I've had 5 no sales in a row, and I'll tell you what it feels like. It's the worst. That's our responsibility to protect them from themselves. Does that make sense? How do you fix that? Well, you get them focused on their best what? And you make sure that they only show what kind of demos. And you make sure that the next demo they book is with somebody who's a guaranteed what? Sale. Every single time there's something that the client wants and can afford. Third reason the rep is not selling is they're not following the manual. They're not following the manual. So why aren't they following the manual? Well, because of pride, because of fear, because of whatever the reason is. And how do you fix that? Well, you role play the script, or you send them on a field training. I can't tell you how many times I've had the experience of a rep not following the manual. They go on a field training who does follow the manual. The rep sells a homemaker +8, and at the end of the demo, they're like, "Holy crap, dude! You just read the manual, only bought $1,000." Yeah, because that's what training told me to do. If you didn't know this, there have been studies that show that less than 50% of people we train nationwide actually follow their manual when they go out there for their first demo. You know what? I'm part of that statistic. Did not follow the manual when I started. Right? And the last reason somebody is not selling Cutco is because they're not trying. You know why they're not trying? Because they don't know why. They're working here just to work here. They're doing it just to do it. But they don't have purpose. They don't have passion behind it. And that's how you fix it. What you walk them through is a what, why, how exercise that we've discussed many times. So that being said, another struggle that a lot of reps have when we're managing them is that they're not booking enough demos. Well, let me walk you through that, right? The only reason somebody's not booking enough demos is because they don't have enough people to call, which means we need to do a chickenless PC and get them people to call, right? And show them who to call. Or the second reason is they're not making enough calls. A lot of reps think that 5 calls is enough. They don't understand the ratio of 10 to 1. Every 10 calls you make, you're going to book 1 demo. That is normal. That is average. That is expected. Forget who I talked to earlier, but they're like, I think it was Seth, right? Sorry, I don't mean to throw you under the bus, bud. But Seth was like, yeah, I don't know. It's just phone's really tough. I was like, all right, well, what normally happens? Oh, you get a lot of no's. I was like, well, what's a lot? I don't know. I haven't tracked it. But, I mean, when I make 20 calls, no, because when I make 20 calls, I book about 1 or 2 demos. I looked at them and I was like, so that's normal? Like 10 to 1 ratio, right? You know? But reps don't get it when they're new. What they get is calling their friend who always answers, right? And that's what phoning means to them, compared to what phone calls in our business looks like, which is a 10 to 1 ratio. It's another reason why we promote 5 before and 5 after. What are the solutions to fixing those 2 things? Well, chickenless PC, teaching them how to post on social media, teaching them how to talk to their friends to get their parents' numbers, or teaching them how to talk to their parents about their goals to get their parents to provide more leads. The other reason, by the way, is just planning phone jams and make sure you hold them accountable to making those calls. I was talking to Olivia earlier about 10 calls a day, 5 days a week equals 50 calls. 50 calls equals 5 demos, and 5 demos makes her over $3,500 by Christmas. Breaking down numbers. Sound fair? So let's dive into the first document we've got here called The Power of 5. And I'm really excited to walk you through this. You know, first off, what this talks about is how to get reps off to a first weekend success. We all know the answer to this one, right? Personal sales fixes what?
Everything.
All right, let's speak up, everybody together. If personal sales fixes what? Everything. No matter what challenge you're going through in your life right now, go out there and sell some Cutco and it gets fixed. It's amazing how that works. Well, as a manager, let me walk you through something. Recruiting fixes everything, but you can't just recruit and then be done. You got to recruit and then get them to sell. Does that make sense? That's how you retain them. The best way to retain somebody is to get them off to fast start success. Get them off to selling a lot of Cutco right off the bat. So let me walk you through this, right? It says on here, first weekend success has to do with how you treat your reps. If you've got a low flyer, listen, there are the people sitting in training that don't even think anyone's going to buy. If you get that kid to go out there and get 1 or 2 sales their first weekend, their confidence is through the roof. You retain them, you get them to the next event, and they stick with the job. The mid-flyers, your 2-star reps, whatever you want to call them, right? Well, they need to make sure that they have a first set sale or 2. And you know what? If you get them to show their best what? Chances are that 2 of those are going to be their first set. And even if they're starter sets with price increase, that's pretty much their first promotion, isn't it? Your average 2-star rep, not the below average or above average, should be knocking out $1,000 at their first weekend. In my opinion, the only reason a rep does not hit $1,000 at their average their first weekend is because they didn't show their best what? Or just 5 MAC clients. That's it. Let's talk about the third one, and that's the high flyers. Who are the high flyers in your group? Well, how do you designate a high flyer? Sometimes it's because of their GPA. Sometimes it's because of something like their, sometimes it's because of their accolades. Sometimes it's because of where they live. Sometimes it's because of where they've worked at in the past, or maybe their extracurriculars, right? But you know what? Some of the best high flyers that I've had before are not people that have any of that. You know what they have? They have the best work ethic. And I will take somebody who has work ethic over personality for any day, because that person is going to put in the most effort. Typically, the person who has the best work ethic is the person who sells the most Cutco. You guys with me on that? So these high flyers need to be pushed. They want a tough coach. They want you to be the person who's talking to them about going big, who's saying, oh, you got 2 for the day? All right, Olivia, well, listen, you're one of my high flyers. You're a champion. I want to talk to you about getting 5 for the day, because 5 a day is the champion's way, right? I want us to go back into summer mentality and mode. And there's nothing wrong with saying this now during the school year, as long as you know somebody's schedule. But I like to say 2 a day is 3 a day is okay, right? Or good, right? 4 a day is great, and 5 a day is the champion's way. And if you're somebody who's busy with school right now, weekend warrior, right? What would happen if you phone and do school throughout the week, and then on the weekends you go out there and rip up a couple days of 3 to 4 demos, right? Or even just one day like a Saturday that's your blitz day and you do 5. Think about the success that can come from that, right? And if you get a rep consistently selling $1,000 a week throughout the fall, they're definitely hitting Dirty 30. They're definitely winning a President's Club letter. They're definitely somebody that's in development. They're making good money, and they're retained for next year. See all the benefits that come from that? But you got to get them off to a fast start. Next to best 5, what I would write down in your notes or on your handout is this, all right, in the first weekend, and that is $3,500 and 20 demos, or in other words, 2 demos a day. $3,500 and 20 demos, or in other words, 2 demos a day. In somebody's fast start, if we don't get them to put that type of effort in, the chances of them sticking around after their fast start or even to the end of it are pretty low. And I'll tell you that if you do get somebody to $3,500 in their fast start and they have the work ethic to put in 2 demos a day on average every day for 10 days, they win the entire homemaker. Their sample kit's worth over $1,000. And my favorite part, right, is to make over $500 on the job and hit 2 promotions with a 100% raise. People aren't quitting when that's the first 10-day experience they get. But when a rep goes out and doesn't sell anything their first weekend, we have let them down. 2 days of unpaid training, promising them the best training in the world. And the only reason they didn't sell is because they didn't show their best what? Nothing is more important than that one concept. So if you want an assignment, it's how good are you at training your people to stay focused on their best 5? How often are you asking the question, walk me through your best 5? And I love this that I made a decision on last year. If somebody's out of town their first weekend, they're not one of your best 5. You need to replace that with somebody else that you could actually do a demo for. Does that make sense? They can be on your best 5 later, but not on your best 5 now. So a good exercise for all of you to do right now is to think about who are your best 5. Make sense? Second part of this document is here. It says 5 before and 5 after. The keys to days 4 through 10 success. Making sure that your reps leave training with at least 7 to 10 demos booked up, no matter what. And if a rep does not have 7 to 10 demos, you talk to them about what's in it for them, sticking around after training, and making sure that they get to 7 to 10 demos before they leave. Make sense? And you're doing this for them, not to them. I think that's important to mention, right? So something that helps serve them and helps them succeed, not something that is I guess a chore or something that's like a punishment, right? You're not a bad person. It's just you had bad phone time. So no worries. After every bad phone time comes a what? Awesome. So we're going to get you back in here, Eric. We're going to wrap it up, and we're going to make sure that you get to those 7 demos, because I'm so committed to your success, and I'm so committed to you hitting your first promotion. All right. So look at 5 before and 5 after. A rep leaves with 7 to 10 demos booked from training. And then no matter what, the first question you ask when they call to check in is, hey, nice to hear from you, Brandon. Thank you so much for calling. Are you ready to have some fun on your demo? All right, great. Have you made your 5 calls? And if they say no, say, all right, man, well, here's the deal. I want to give you a really big tip. It's an amazing tip, but I can't give it to you until you make your 5 calls. So I'm going to hang up with you, make your 5, call me back. But I'm already at their house, and they're already looking at me. Cool. Look at them back and just say, hey, I got to do something real quick. Just a second. They're not going anywhere, right? But you're really, really intentional about getting them to do this right off the bat. Guys, people's habits are developed in the first 3 to 5 days that you work with them, which means if a rep is not doing something that we want them to do, who's that on? Us. It's our responsibility. So being an extremely tough coach about 5 before and 5 after, not making it optional. And the reason why is because if you explain it to them in a what's in it for them fashion, every time they do this, they book up 1 more demo. 1 more demo booked up means they never run out of demos. It also means that if they leave with their best 5 their first weekend, they walk into advanced training with another best what? 5 booked up. And then they go to advanced training 2 with another what? 5. And then they leave advanced training 3 with another 5. And if they're doing that, that's 20 demos throughout their first 10 days on the job, which is $3,500 and all the benefits we discussed. everything we've got is a strategy to make sure that we have forced accountability to get what we want. Does that make sense? But every time that we cut corners, every time we don't hold somebody accountable, it holds them back, and we're literally giving them permission to fail and be part of the statistic that that knife selling job doesn't work. That's not something I would ever want to be a part of, right? So I'm willing to uphold the standards. 100% replication of the schedule and teach during the training, right? Drive it on PDI, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. By the way, it should never go away. How much more would our CSPs sell if they actually did 5 before and 5 after? I mean, their skills are at an all-time high, aren't they? But if they actually did that too, can you imagine? I'm not saying they have to, but if they did it, man, what would happen, right? How many more demos would you have right now if you're making 5 before and 5 after? So next to 5 before and 5 after, here's what I want you to write down next to that, and that is 5 to 10 ahead. If we can get our team culture and our division culture, guys, to the point where every rep always has 5 demos ahead, our team is always consistent with a base camp of a good sales report. I think about this summer as a branch manager, if you can get 10 on your team and every team member can always have at least 5 ahead, even without a training class, you've got 50 demos. And with 50 demos, you've got a guaranteed 5K week. If you're doing 5K a week for 12 weeks throughout the summer, that's a $60,000 branch. And that doesn't include any of the other reps you'd recruit or build the team with, or any of the push periods, or any of your personal sales. You with me on that? 5 ahead. But if we were to go through everybody listening on this call right now, including those of you listening to the recording, do you have 5 ahead? No, probably not. And if you did, how much better would you feel about your week? How much better would you feel about your business? You with me on that? I need your help to build that culture. Sound good? All right, let's keep going forward. Next thing we got is the 5 crucial events. These are the keys to retention. You want to retain reps. You don't want to be a churn and burn organization, right? I always like to say that if you add more people to your team every week than you lose, well, then your sales report should go where? Up, right? But a lot of times that's not the case. So this is why it's a recruiting business. It's not a recruiting business, though, because we're constantly burning our reps and losing. If we are running the business properly, we shouldn't be losing reps. I want you to write next to retention in 5 critical events, 80% retention. 80% retention. And what I'm meaning here is after the fast start's over, 80% of the people you launched are still active on the team and showing up to events. Do you know how to retain people? Get them to the office. Do you know how to retain people? Get them to sell. The moment that a rep is not selling, they are doubting themselves and they have negative influence. So let's go through the 5 critical events. The first one is advanced training 1. I heard a quote one time that said, every time a rep misses an event, they're 50% more likely to quit. So if we assume that they're 100% committed when they come to training and they leave training, if they miss advanced training 1, they've gone from 100% all in to 50%. If they miss the day 4 PC, 25%. And it just gets worse from there. No matter what, getting everybody to every event. And if they don't make it, finding a way to make up for it. What are the things we cover in AT1? Well, we recognize people. We rebuild their confidence. I love running AT1. I love seeing reps who come in that are about to feel like quitting or me selling them on sitting through AT1, and 3 hours later, seeing them ripping up the phones and going out and popping their first homemaker. No better feeling than that. For some of them, it's their first sale, their first set sale, right? But that's something you earn, and that's something that you teach. You know, the next thing is creating a plan, helping them make a schedule for the next 7 days, just like you did on day 1 of training. Why do we sell so much more on day 1 than we do in days 4 through 7? Because everybody left training with a specific daily plan and every demo spot circled of when they could work. If that's not happening in advanced training before they leave that, then you're literally launching them into failure for the next 7 days. And the last one is everybody has at least how many more demos? 5 demos ahead. No matter what, being a tough coach and not letting reps leave advanced training 1 until they have at least what? 5 demos ahead. That guarantees that you retain them. The next thing is the first PC. This should definitely be run before their first team meeting no matter what, okay? Now, I like to say day 4 is the best day for it, but depending on the calendar and their schedule, especially with school, it can be a little bit iffy. So how do we run that first PC? Well, this is where we build the relationship. We look over their names list. A lot of these things we covered in AT1, but we're checking in on them one-on-one. We create their fast start plan with a specific goal. And I know that's not on there, but I'd write that on there. What is their specific goal for their fast start? What are they motivated by? What are they working towards? We create action in the next 24 to 48 hours. And how do you want to show up to advanced training 1? Where do you want to be? Higher quality questions yield higher quality responses. Team meeting, tying people into the team, recognizing them, right? Talking about massive phone jam. The best and biggest team meeting, phone jam of the week should be at the what? I gave you the answer. The team meeting, right? But for some of us, if we're leaving team meetings where we're averaging less than 3 demos per person that was at the meeting, what kind of phone jam do we have? Can we even really call that a phone jam? You with me on that? So here's the thing. What happens when you build your team as a branch manager or a district manager to have 20 people on it? 75% shows up to the event. You got 15 people there and everybody books up 3 demos. You booked 45 demos that night with a small team. Here's what's cool about that. That means you added $4,500 to your sales report that week and definitely put yourself in a position where you retained your people. Make sense? But we've got to be aggressive about creating the actions and the behaviors that are going to get those kinds of results. We also add value. And why do we have team meetings? To drive more demos. That's the number one reason. We also want to help them grow personally, professionally, and financially. Cool? Advanced Training 2 typically is tied into the team meeting. This is where we teach basic phone mastery. We teach them to stick with their original list as long as possible. And we check in again about having 5 more ahead. Last big event that people need is their day 11 PC. They finish their fast start officially. Their unofficial fast start can be extended because of the bonus days from the PRs, and sharing on social media. Their official fast start's over. Guys, I want to make a distinction here. Don't wait to have the day 11 PC until their unofficial fast start is over. Have it on day 11. Does that make sense? After 10 days, a rep needs that coaching. They need that accountability. And you can do these in groups. But again, what do? Review their fast start. Hey, what were the highs? Okay, cool. What were the lows? All right, what'd you learn? And what brought you success? What were the things that are getting you to where you're at right now and hit 3,500? Cool. And what are the things that we probably need some improvement on? By the way, then you create the long-term plan for them. Hey, I'm really excited because right now it's September and we still have a total of 15 weeks left for the fall. You know what pumps me up is that even if you took off 2 or 3 of those for midterms and finals and holidays, you could still work 12 weeks. And you know what I'm excited about? Doing 12 weeks of 5 demos, you would have another 60 demos by Christmas. That would generate at least about 40 sales. And at 40 sales and an average order of $300, you'd be selling 12 grand on top of the 3 grand you're already at. So now you're at $15,000, which means you made $3,500 this fall. You're eligible for the events team. You won the President's Club letter. You've also hit 4 promotions, given yourself a 300% raise, and you're in a position where you start next year at 30%. Does that sound like something you want to do? Because you just do 5 demos a week? How good are you at promoting the fundamental basics and getting people tied into that? Cool? And then again, getting them back into action. 5 before and 5 after, 5 ahead, and always making sure there's 100 names on their list. Cool. Before we transition in, 5 keys to building a great team. Getting reps to hit the newsletter. What's the newsletter? $1,000. What's it take to hit the newsletter? Well, with prices going up and the averages we're experiencing, 5 demos. Best 5 equals $1,000. That's it. Just show your best 5 every week. And we really need to lock down reps and their mentality and mindset on what it takes to ship $1,000. It doesn't take a lot. Raise your hand if you've ever had a $1,000 week before. Anybody had a $1,000 week? Raise your hand. Raise high. Okay, good. Raise your hand if you ever had a 2K week. Okay, it's pretty exciting, right? Raise your hand if you ever had a 3K week. Okay, in fact, here's a great exercise for you to write down. What's the biggest week you've ever had? And when are you going to beat it? The person you should be most competitive with is always yourself. Don't run other people's races. I was sharing with a candidate earlier that comparison is the thief of joy. Don't compare yourself to anybody but you. The only person you need to get better than is you. Progress, not perfection. So we know the metric. Every time you get a rep on the newsletter, 2 to 2.5 times, that puts them at what? $1,000, right? Or sorry, that puts your sales report there. So here's the thing. For those of you who want to go after big weeks right now, a 10K week is this simple. Find a way to get 3 to 4 reps on the newsletter in your office. That's it. 4 to 5, actually. Sorry. Right? If you want to have a 20K week, awesome. 8 to 10 reps on the newsletter, over $1,000. Guaranteed you're shipping 20K that week. I know the pilot, we really pursued this for a while, but having a $100,000 week. Do you know how we can make it happen? 40 reps on the newsletter. If we found a way to get 40 people to ship $1,000 in the same week, you'd sell $100,000 in that week. But it's about putting in the effort and the actions, right, to get them there. And every time a rep hits the newsletter and $1,000, you make it easier for them to do it again because they have more belief, right? Let's talk about meeting attendance. 75% of people to every meeting that you run that are qualified. 75% of the people that, team meeting, 75% at the Dirty 30 meeting or key staff meeting, right? What if you got 75% of your team to show up to phone jams? Whew! Can you imagine what that would feel like and look like? It's pretty cool. PCs, every rep, every week. They deserve at least a little bit of your time. Doesn't have to be a lot. Doesn't even have to be one-on-one. But any PC is better than no PC. PDI, every rep deserves influence every single day. Sometimes it's simple as a text that just says, how'd your calls go last night? Sometimes it's as simple as something like an appreciation text. In fact, district managers, when's the last time you communicated with your people about how much you appreciated them and loved on them? The last one is demos. 1 demo per day per rep on the team. If you do that, your office will always thrive. You got a team of 10 people right now? Awesome. 1 demo per day per rep on the team. That means you're averaging 7 demos a day. That means you're averaging 7 a week or 70 a week. And that means your team is selling in the neighborhood of $7,000. Pretty cool. And the last part of this is 5 keys to developing a great rep. A, put them on the newsletter their first week and then never miss it again. And promote the heck out of the Consistency Club culture. If you don't have the posters up in our office that we've got newsletter tracking, you're not updating them, right? We need to make that a priority. Because here's the deal. Every single rep hits the newsletter, and then they do it 5 weeks in a row, they get a roll-up hat. 10 weeks in a row, they get a K-bar knife. 15 weeks in a row, right? Or sorry, 20, they get a gourmet set. And 52 in a week, they're winning a night out on the town with our region manager. But how often do we forget about that? Until the team meeting. Cool. Next one, mission 100, never letting your reps slip below 100 leads on their list. 5 before and 5 after, we've already discussed that. Always having the conversation about their next best 5. And then again, making them feel special, making them feel unique, making them feel appreciated, making them feel wanted. You want to be a great manager and have great influence? How good are you at getting people to feel great about being a part of your squad? Makes a big difference. Cool? So, district managers, feel free to unmute yourself. If there's anything I missed you want to add to it, please feel free to add that in, or we will go on to our next document.
I would just say in PCs, make sure you always have an objective that you're looking to get done for sure. And before you just straight jump into strictly learning or teaching, make sure you hold space for your representatives and give them an opportunity to just vent or to complain or to talk to you about something they may have had on their schedule first, because sometimes what you have on your agenda isn't what they actually need for that point in time where they are in their business. So
cool. By the way, you can also add on there, the question of, hey, how can I best serve you? Or how can I best support you, right? And always asking them for their feedback. How can I best help and serve you and things like that makes a big difference. So very good. Thank you for that, Tyler. All right. Well, moving forward, we're going to jump into our next PC. What does PC stand for?
Personal coaching.
Personal coaching.
Paycheck time.
I've also heard of paycheck meeting, right? What's another thing that PC stands for? Personal consultation. Okay. So that's another one, right? Personal coaching, right? You can also talk about PC, right? But again, just because we know what a PC means does not mean that they know what a PC means. So many times I see managers guilty of saying, hey man, we got to set up a PC. And the rep's like, okay, what is that? Like they're in trouble and they're going to the principal's office, right? Yeah. So instead of saying, yo, we got to set up a PC, you should probably let them know what that is, right? Hey, just to let you know, I'd love to get some time one-on-one with you, Olivia, so we can sit down and talk a little bit more about your plan for the rest of your fast start. So what's your schedule look like? Do you have your planner? Great. When can we put in there? And if you can't get a face-to-face PC, any PC is better than no PC, right? Putting it in on Zoom, doing FaceTime, a phone call even, that's better than none, right? But I know that our division is not PCing every rep on the day 4. And if we were, right, there's even people here right now that didn't get a day 4 PC. And if you would have, how much better would your fast start have been? You with me on that? So let's talk about the PC. I'm sharing the screen right now. We're going to go through this document. So you guys can all grab one, pass it around. We'll move into the next part. This is the PC. It says every rep gets a PC every week. With a small team, everybody can have a one-on-one PC. With a larger team, utilize group PCs. And the most important thing is that you get this booked before they leave training. Current managers, let me remind you of this. No one leaves training on day 2 until they have their first what? PC. Scheduled. They're not leaving training. This is part of what you do when you launch your training group. Hey, bust out your planner. Let's look over your schedule Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. And let's plan a time that we can meet one-on-one for your first meeting. Everybody with me on that? Okay, cool. What kind of meeting you run can be different depending on the person. So one of the big things we always like to talk about is the potential of building the team through PRs. And we'll talk more about this in future meetings, but we've got to discuss how 50 to 70% of an office's recruits and sales come from friends of friends. Which means every time a rep comes to your office, we want to build a culture of building the team through your network, right? So step one when they walk in is, hey, thanks so much for being here on time, Brandon. Super fired to meet up with you. Real quick, though, I wanted to look at your list because a lot of your friends have sparked interest in being interested in the job, but many of them haven't really applied yet or come in to meet with us. So who are 3 friends right now that you would love to get on the team, man? Yeah? Okay, cool. Can you go ahead and send them a quick text and just let them know that we're still interviewing and see if they'd be interested in setting one up? Because I'm sure they'd be a lot more likely to respond to you than us. And then that's it. And you could even have something in your notes that you copy and paste and send to them. You could even use Web PDI and send it to them, and they can copy and paste and get that sent out. But that should be about the first 5 minutes as you're building a relationship and getting them on board. Sound cool? You can also recognize them with who are the friends they already got on the team. First 10 minutes of your meeting is building rapport. So breaking down how's life, school, family, recreation, finances, dreams list. Again, you don't have to talk about all of that, but pick something that you're building a relationship and making a connection on. One of my goals is every time I have a PC to learn something new about them, right? So, hey, tell me something I don't know about you, right? Or give me an interesting fact, or just ask a more specific question, right? Where's the coolest place you've ever been? Or where's the coolest place you ever want to be, right? You know, what are you motivated by? Whatever it may be. Business, talking about their next promotion, consistency, newsletter, dream talk, the management opportunity. Just again, recognize and appreciate them and find out their stats. A lot of reps have a lot of self-doubt and they think that they're a lot worse than they are, right? But pointing things out, appreciating and recognizing that. Hey, Eric, I just want to let you know, did you know that your average order is $326 this weekend? I mean, I know it's only a few days into the job and you've only done like 2 demos, but it's pretty exciting for you, man. I don't know if you know, but the average order of our office is right around $300, $350. So you're right on track, man. I know you're going to be successful here. You're doing things great. So keep up the hard work. People need to be reaffirmed in what they're doing. Does that make sense? Even if it's just the simple basics. Also, where are they at in sales? What are they working towards? When do they think they can hit their next promotion? And always dangling that carrot. Okay, what are we teaching? Well, we talk about CPR training and certification. There's 3 things that we need to master in a job like this. Recommendations, closing, and phoning. Walking them through those and saying, hey, out of these 3 things, which one do you feel like you're the best at right now? Okay, cool. And which one of these do you feel like you need the most improvement on? All right, great. Well, every time we meet, Jerry, we're going to sit down. I'm going to ask you about those 3 things, and we're going to pick one a week to work on. And I'll give you some tips. I might even give you some videos so that you can get better at that. But one of my goals for you is not to be this 20K fast starter that breaks all the records, but to retain you for a long time. And I really want to see you do a lot longer than your first couple of weeks on the job. In fact, I would love to talk to you about what would happen if you just did 5 demos a week until Christmas. We'll talk about that later. But giving them permission on that, right? For 10 minutes, how long does it take to have them role play real quick? Or if you don't have any confidence in their ability, have yourself role play for them, right? But do one of these parts of the business every week. Next thing we need to check in on is their names list. Hey, bust out your names list real quick, Brandon. Show it to me. I want you to write that on there, by the way. Show me your names list. I think it's so critical that we stop focusing on feelings and we start focusing on facts. Hey, Brandon, go ahead and show me your names list. Let's go through it real quick. And what are the key fundamentals to helping them build their names list? Well, number 1, the chicken list exercise, calling friends and parents for more numbers. By the way, you can write next to that. That's page 31 in the current manual. Their original names focus, getting more numbers from their parents. By the way, I notice all the time on a training manual that they have a ton of names written down and very few phone numbers. The assignment on day 1 is to go home and get all of those numbers, right? But if they didn't do it, they need that accountability on day 4 to actually do it. And ask them this one question. Hey, what's holding you back? What do you think is holding you back from getting all the numbers? And then you could always throw out a contest, something like, if I were to give you $1,000 tomorrow to have 50 names and numbers on this list, would you do it? Right? And then, of course, just so you know, I'm not going to give you $1,000 tomorrow if you do it, but you'll have the people and the potential to earn over $1,000 very rapidly here. How cool would it be if you made $1,000 in your first 10 days, Brandon? So you see the importance of getting these numbers? Let's talk about how we can do that, right? What I love to do is use the highlighter trick. So here's another note that you can take. In the day 4 PC, what I'll have them do, or day 11, is I'll have them bust out their training manual and I'll have them highlight, and this is something that's ongoing, all the people that they've done a demo for or have said no. And then what I'll have them do is look at all the names that are still on that list they haven't shown yet. And I'll have them remake their next best 5 or their top 20, and we just give them permission, right? Guys, the truth is, in non-summer, if a rep just had 20 names and numbers on their list, and they called the first 10 on Monday, the second 10 on Tuesday, they did that back and forth, our reps would have 5 demos every week, and they'd be selling a lot of Cutco and making a lot more money. We'd have a lot easier time getting a hold of them, getting them to the events, and retaining them, right? And then all the time recreating their top 50 target list. One of my favorite sheets of paper to have in my office and for reps is the top 50 list. I know that's already built into the Advanced Training 1 packet, so on a day 4 PC, it's pretty simple. Hey, do you have the packet from Advanced Training? Cool, bring that out. Let's go through it. Let's remake it, right? But taking the 10 minutes, taking the 15 minutes to build that. And you know what? If a rep is struggling on names list, I would take the whole PC to just focus on what?
Nice.
The number one reason that people leave this job is because they think they don't have people to call. But the reality is they do, they just aren't willing to get outside their comfort zone. Make sense? And some of the people listening to this recording or watching me live right now, you are those people, right? And if you can't do it for yourself, how are you going to create and teach other people on how to do it? Last big thing is a schedule check. Hey, do you have your planner? Go ahead and bust it out. I never talk to reps unless there's a plan in front of them, right? And I can walk them through that. So working through their goals. Hey, what's your goal this week with demos? How much do you want to sell, right? And helping them break that down on what actions are necessary to get there. And then accountability, right? If they're not communicating, well, talk to them about that and have an honest conversation. Speak from the heart. You don't need a script for that. Hey, can I be honest with you real quick, Ayame? I feel like you're not calling me very often, and it's frustrating the heck out of me because my number one pet peeve is communication. In day 2 of training, I thought it was very honest and upfront about how I will never judge you on results, but I always judge you on work ethic, attitude, and great communication. And lately, I haven't been getting great communication from you. There's been a couple times I've called you and you've forgotten to call me back. I understand you're human, I'm human too, but I would really appreciate it if you step that up. And if I text you, even if you're busy, just shoot me a text back and say, busy, can we talk at 4? I'll be cool with that too. But if we don't improve our communication, here's the risk we run. We could really not be having a relationship within the next 1 or 2 weeks. Time and time again, I've seen that with lack of communication becomes lack of success becomes failure. Now, I don't want that to happen for you. I don't think you want that to happen for yourself. So what is something we can do to improve our communication daily? And then you work through that conversation. Not rude, not mean, not disrespectful, just honest, right? Okay, maybe it's learning. Team meetings, are those in the schedule? When are they role-playing? When are they doing field trainings? When are they going to buy their kit? It's never too early to set a date. And one of the big ones that's not on there is making sure that they have a dirty 30 birth date. And if you're sitting here right now and you don't have a dirty 30 birth date, let's get one because it's going to be really powerful for you. Sound cool? All right, great. Cool. Last big thing on here, right, is booking up 3 more demos or booking up 3 more friends. So it's either you're reaching out to the people that they text at the beginning or they're using that last 10 minutes to book some demos. And if you're running a little bit later, your PC took longer than you expected, so what? What should you do? Just jump into doing something like your next PC and having them make 10 calls in the other room and then come back in and check in with you on how they went. Does that make sense? Or shoot you a text or something like that. One more reason you want to have staffing. I learned from Alex Mazurek that he said you should never delegate reps until you have over 25 to 30 people you're managing. So Alex Mazurek is probably going to have $1 million year, first time ever, right? This is his 2nd full year on the job. Pretty exciting. And he's in a position, right, where he does not delegate PDI. Currently, his team is less than 25 people, which means as a district manager, he is PDIing, he is PSCing all of those 25 people in his office. You also see his office dominating right now for the SLC push, the recruiting contest, right, and everything else. Sound cool? All right, great. So I hope we learned a lot from that. Any feedback from some of the veterans, some of the district managers, anything I missed that you feel like would be a valuable addition to covering the PC and the purpose of it? Sweet. All right, good. Well, let's move on to the next one. The next one is the chicken list PC. So go ahead and take one of these and pass it down, and we'll go ahead and review this as well. The chicken list PC is part of the PC, but the difference with the chicken list PC is that with the chicken list PC, this is a PC designed to do one thing, and that's build their names list. The number one reason on why somebody leaves this business is because they don't feel like they have enough people to call. Now, for those of you that have less than 100 names and numbers on your list, you're in what I call the danger zone, okay? The danger zone is not like the song, The Danger Zone. It's not a good place to be, all right? I have a document that I used to talk about having standards, and I talked about how there was something called red light, green light, or red light, yellow light, green light, right? And what it was is numbers based on metrics of where a rep was at on if they are in the danger zone, like they're about to quit, right? If they're in the yellow zone where they're like, they're probably thinking about looking for another job, or if they're in the green zone where they're like, dude, I'm doing this. You know what I mean? The goal is to keep everybody in the green zone. So here's what I jot down on the side in your notes, just for a little bit of this information. If a representative on your team ever has less than 50 names and numbers of people to call, they are about to quit. That includes you guys. And if you're sitting here right now listening to this and you don't have 50 names and numbers on your list, your number one objective is to get a chicken lease PC with your manager and work your butt off until you have 50 names and numbers on your list. By the way, if you're between 50 and 100, or in other words, you have less than 100, you're in the yellow zone. Not in a terrible spot like you're going to quit tomorrow, but man, if something doesn't change, we're in trouble. And the goal is every rep on your list to have 100 names and numbers of qualified clients. And if a representative has 100 names and numbers on their list, they're the representatives hitting Dirty 30. They're the representatives advancing. They're the representatives moving into all of our top-level programs, right? But those are the big breakdowns. So the setup for this, right, is you have got to have 1 to 2 top 50 lists. And the goal is we're not leaving this meeting until we have this thing filled out. Now, what do you want to talk to them about? Well, you want to talk to them about, hey, I've noticed lately, Eric, that you haven't been that confident with making phone calls. And there's only 2 reasons. You either don't know how, which I know is not true because you've been through training and advanced training and you've taught all the scripts, or it's because you're just not confident in the people you're calling, which means that's probably the case. So right now, how many names and numbers do you have on your list? 30. Okay, cool. So can I be honest with you? I really believe that 30 is way too few for you to be confident that you'll be around here long term. I know you love the job. We know we love you. We don't want to lose you. So what we're going to do is an exercise right now about building your names list. And this is designed for you to leave this with confidence that you can crush this job. And it gets you in a position where even if you don't have the numbers yet, over 100 people. Does that sound fair? Now, the one rule to this is I need you to keep an open mind. Instead of prejudging people and thinking about the only people that would buy, I need you just to think about anybody you've ever met. I don't care who they are, where they live, how you know them, or what they do for a living. If you've met them in your life, they're going to go on the list. Does that sound cool? Because everybody you know is one of 2 things. They're either a source or they're a lead. And by the way, Eric, a source means there's somebody you could get a lead from. This is like one of your friends' parents that love to cook. They know you. They're supportive families, but you just haven't done the demo yet because you don't know their number, right? A lead is maybe somebody like your aunt that you're distant with, but she's a qualified client. She's married, over 30, owns a house, and you could probably do a demo for them. Cool? So where we're going to begin with this is we're going to make sure that we get back to your initial leads. Because here's the thing, jumping into referrals too soon is way, risky. And here's the thing, if you had 2 pools of water, a 10-inch pool of water and a 10-foot pool of water, which one would you choose to jump into? 10 foot, right? Breaks your fall, you're not going to crack your head and die. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the 10-foot pool of water, and that's like having 100 to 200 leads on your list before you ever call a recommendation, all right? But right now, your recommendation base is 10 inches deep. It's not going to break your fall. You're definitely not going to succeed. So here's what I want to do. I want to go ahead and talk to you about a few categories. So do you have a pen and paper? Okay, awesome. What we're going to do right now is we're going to have out your top 50 list, and if a name comes to mind, you're going to throw them on there. If not, we're going to work on the other sheet about just estimates, okay? Now, there's going to be some overlap, but we're going to work this out. So we're going to begin with your initial list. And I want you to make 4 columns in your notes. And I would put this down in your guys' notes because a lot of people don't know how to properly run one of these meetings. So we're going to put 4 columns in your notes. The first column we're going to write down in your notes is what we call the category, right? That we're discussing, that we're talking about. The second thing we're going to put down in your notes is the initial names, initial total, right? The third number, and by the way, while we go through this, you could all do this for yourself right now. We're not going to have the time to really unpack it, but it might not be a bad idea. The third category we're going to put down on here is going to be what we call already shown. These are people you've already done demos for or they've already said no. And the last column you're going to write down is the ones that you'd be comfortable calling. So you got 4 columns. Does that sound cool? Now, I don't need specific numbers. I just need estimates, all right? And we're going to go through this for yourself, Eric. So here we go. The first one is your original list. So let's look over that real quick. On your original list right now, how many did you initially have on there when you came through training, when you finished up?
30.
Okay, cool. So you had 30 on there initially. Great. How many of those have you done demos for so far?
I've done demos with 10.
10. Perfect. So write that in the second column. By the way, you guys could all be doing this for yourself. Okay? All right, great. Now the third column would be how many are you comfortable calling? Now, if they're on the original list, it's probably the other 20. Can we agree? Yeah. All right, perfect. So just write down 20, okay? And we knocked out number 1. Let's move into number 2. I already told you to not be calling referrals, but let's just jump into there to see how many you've gotten so far. So how many total referrals have you gotten so far?
Gotten 70 referrals.
Nice. That's solid. And just to take a moment, if you've done 10 demos and gotten 70 referrals, you're averaging 7 per demo. Now, you probably had about 1 or 2 give you none. You've already had probably a couple give you a ton, and then a couple give you the average. That's totally normal. So I just want to recognize you that the office average is only 5. You're already getting 7. You're way above the curve. And imagine what happens after you've done it 10 or 20 times more. And imagine what happens when you memorize your rec approach. I can't wait. It's going to be huge. Cool? So let's go through that. All right. So you've gotten a total of 70 referrals. You probably called none of them yet because it's your 4th day on the job. So how many would you be comfortable calling once we teach you? Probably all 70. Maybe not, but you could put down whatever you would be okay with. Cool? Even if it's 35 or 50. All right, now comes the new categories and the fresh categories. So the next one, all of you can write down, is school. So where'd you go to high school?
Corpus Christi, Texas.
Okay, awesome. In Corpus Christi High School. And tell me real quick, how many people were in your graduating class?
438.
Perfect. So write that down as the initial number. Now, out of those 438, how many of those friends' parents have you shown?
Probably shown 4.
Okay, cool. And I know it's been a while since high school, but if we busted out the yearbook, if we went back to senior year, we thought about who we were close with, thought about who we kicked it with, even if you've never met their parents, who would you be comfortable calling to at least try to get their parents' number? How many?
Probably at least another 6 more.
Okay.
Maybe 10 more. I have a lot of friends from high school.
Cool. So here's the deal. If you knew that they'd give you their parents' number, how many would you call? Because there was 400 in your class. I got to believe you had more than 6 friends.
Call them, call all of them, 20 or 30 of my friends.
Okay,
But
perfect.
they would be okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll never know unless we ask. And the worst thing they can tell you is what? Yeah, so let's ask them anyway. By the way, getting told no is a part of life. And it's something that you need to become comfortable with because as you get older, you're going to get told no more, right? We thought we got a lot of no's as a kid. Just wait when you get in life. So here's the deal, man. Let's go ahead and write down 30. I think you could probably call another 30 and try to get their friends or their parents' number. Sound cool? Great. And sometimes, guys, you have to give them permission to build their number, right? All right, let's go to the next one, church and synagogue. So do you go to church?
Yeah.
Cool. How many people in the congregation?
And this one is, I think it's 120 families.
Got it. Okay, cool. So 120 families. That's great. And how many of those families have you shown?
2 of them.
Okay. How many would you be comfortable showing if you knew they'd do a demo with you?
All 120.
Perfect. All right, awesome. So let's write down the rest. Again, I'm not saying get the director and just cold call through it, but you can work through it, right, and get some of those numbers as you work forward. All right, let's go into your neighborhood. How many homes were in your neighborhood?
I think 50 homes. It's in
Okay, cool. So 50 homes in the neighborhood. Maybe there'll be more adding on. And how many neighbors have you shown?
I've shown 1.
Okay, cool. And if you knew that they'd do a demo with you, right, that's the key question. How many would you be comfortable showing?
Probably 10 of them.
Okay, perfect. So let's write down 10. Next big category is Facebook. So let's talk about Facebook. And by the way, we'll teach you a way to get onto an app called Nextdoor where you can actually start to message and know people in your neighborhood. It's awesome. So we'll help you out with that. You can also use whitepage.com. You can also use a different approach called the sticky note approach. And we'll teach you how to do that later. It's not really door to door if it's your neighborhood, by the way. So we'll teach you how that works. All right, so let's go to Facebook. How many friends you got on Facebook?
400.
Awesome. And out of those 400 friends that you got, how many of them have you shown Cutco to?
Just the ones that are already my friends from school.
Okay, which was like 4 or something. Yeah. All right, great. How many more would you be comfortable reaching out to and seeing if you can get a demo with?
Probably 50
Perfect. So let's write that number down. You have any siblings?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How many you got?
I have 3 brothers.
Cool. If you were to incentivize them, how many of them do you think you could probably get their parents' numbers?
See about
Or their friends'
25
parents?
25.
25 total?
Yeah.
Sweet. So we'll teach an approach for that too. We've had a lot of reps who incentivize them with like, a video game or like an ice cream date or something like that, depending on their age. You could get a lot of your siblings, friends, parents, and that would really help out too. Okay, cool. Let's talk about sports. Do you play any sports or any extracurriculars?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How many people are on the swim team?
70.
So let's write down 70. And out of those 70, how many of those have you shown?
Just one.
Okay, perfect. And how many would you be comfortable showing if you were to get their parents' numbers?
10.
Okay, perfect. So let's put 10 on there too. And the last one is virtual demos. Now, if you think about everybody that lives out of state, right? Everybody you've been in contact with, I know you're not from here, back home and things like that. I mean, that might be just overlap from the other categories, but let's write down a number, right? How many have you shown, and then how many would you be comfortable showing?
What was the category?
Virtual demos. People who live outside of the state or more than an hour drive away. All right, so now that we've built this number, let's go through and add up all of your numbers. So how many and the only number we really care about right now, Eric, is the ones on your comfortable calling list. Does that make sense? So let's talk about those numbers. Original list, how many were there? I got a calculator.
Okay,
20. How many did you have on your referrals?
35.
35. Cool. How many on school?
60.
Cool. How many did you have on church?
118.
Okay, 118. Perfect. How many did you have in neighborhood?
10.
Okay, great. How many did you have on Facebook?
50.
Perfect.
My siblings?
Okay, how many in siblings?
20.
20. And then how many on sports rosters?
10.
10. And then how many from virtual demos?
12.
12. Perfect. So your total that you can write down comes to 335 that you'd still be comfortable calling if we had their numbers. Now, I'm going to assume that probably 50% of that might be overlap. The people on Facebook or the people that were in high school. Does that make sense? So we're going to divide that number by 2, assuming that half of these are duplicates. By the way, that still gives you 167 potential people that you could get a demo with. How's that feel?
That's a lot of people.
A lot of people in there.
Yeah.
Now, I realize that people change their numbers, people move, and some people actually just turn you down and say no. So let's say that you could only get 75% of those people's numbers. So I'm going to multiply it times 75%, 125 names and numbers to call. Here's what I'm fired up for you. And you have to do this last part of the PC. You have to show them the potential of these names. Does that make sense? Here's what I'm fired up about. Assuming that you only do demos with half of those people, we're divided by 2 again, you're looking at 62 appointments. If you did 62 appointments at a 70% close, you'd have 40 plus sales. And 40 plus sales at a $300 average order would be $13,000, which means you'd earn an extra $3,000 on this job just with those people. And that's assuming pretty low expectations. More importantly though, check this out, Eric. If you did those 62 demos, you're averaging 7 referrals a piece right now. You'd have 434 more people that you could call and do demos with. Do you see the power of reaching out to people you already know? Do you see the power of asking for help and asking for more numbers? See, you have the resources. You just need to put in the work. And that is the chicken list PC. The last part of it, by the way, is the deadline of when they need to get the numbers by and teaching them how to reach out and get those numbers. But no matter what, Eric, what we're doing every day is making phone calls. We're either calling people to book demos or we're calling people to get numbers from so that we can book demos. You cool with that? So how quickly do you want to get those 75 or those, how quickly do you want to get those numbers? Great. Do you have your planner?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Open it up and let's go ahead and write down when you're going to spend some time doing this. 30 minutes to an hour a day. You do that for the next 5 days. You've worked through pretty much every category, and now you're very close to having over 100 names and numbers on your list, which means I'm a lot more confident that you're going to be sticking around with the business. Questions, concerns, comments? Let's give Eric a 1 clap for being my role play buddy. 1, 2, 3. For those of you that were in person, I was watching many of you write that down and seeing that awareness face, right? Where it's like, holy crap, I know a lot more people than I thought, right? But you've got to effectively do it, and you've got to make sure they write it down. It can't be feelings, right? It's got to be facts. And as they're going through, they also have that top 50 list, and they're writing down names, right? Hey, are there any names you need to write down? Oh, yeah, my buddy here, and my teacher here, and my coach here. They're putting those on the list, but you're giving them permission because you've built that platform. All right, good. Last major thing that I'm going to discuss is the how to break down a goal. And again, this is a component of the PC, but when it comes to breaking down goals, guys, it's so important that you give people awareness and you show them how to do it. So go ahead and take one of these, guys, pass it around. This is how to break down goals before I bring up Claire. So I'm going to spend 4 quick minutes on this. People are motivated by one of 3 things. They're either motivated by how much money they want to make, they're motivated by something competitive, either with somebody else or with themselves, right, and what accolade they want to hit, or they're motivated by how hard they want to work and what kind of routine and schedule they want to have, right? So if somebody's really money motivated, then a couple of ideas here. The first thing is you need to talk to them about how much money they'd want to make. And typically the first answer somebody gives you is how much they need to make. That wasn't the question though, right? The question was how much do you want to make? And the reason this is weird for them is because they've never had a job like this where you can literally define how much you want to make based on how much work you put in. Most jobs, that's not the way it works, right? They tell you how much you're going to make, and then they tell you how many hours you're going to be able to make that amount. You with me on that? So you've got to change it up for them. One of the best things you can do is help them make a monthly budget, even if it's estimated. And then talking about how much you need to make versus want to make, what the break-even number is to pay all their bills, and then what selling their actual goal would do in addition to paying all their expenses. Additional money for savings. Hey, in the next 4 months, Brandon, how much would you like to have in savings? Have you ever thought about that? Cool. I mean, what would it feel like to have $5,000 in savings by Christmas? Or what would it feel like to have $4,000 in savings and $1,000 to throw into Christmas? You ever thought about that? Because what's cool about this job is you can make any amount of money dependent upon how much effort you put in. Determine how much you would need to sell in order to earn that kind of money, and then they need to sell the lower amount each month as their commission level increases, right? Less work equals more income. Cool? And if you look over this, it shows how to break down goals, right? And what I love to do is not just do short-term goals like this shows you, but I love to talk about long-term goals and where that gets you, right? So for somebody who's trying to earn blank amount of money, well, then you need to know the numbers. And I'm just going to burn through these. You can listen to the recording again. But once a rep has sold $1,000, they've made how much? $100, right? Once a rep has sold $3,000 career sales, they made how much money? $400, right? Once a rep has hit their 6K promotion, they've made $1,000. Once they've hit their 10K promotion, they've made $10,000. Once they've hit it $15,000, there's no promotion, they've made $3,500. And once they've sold 20K, they made $5,000. So if a rep comes to you and says, I got to make $5,000 by Christmas, then that's easy because you can look at them and say, great, well, let's make a plan to sell 20,000 by Christmas. So let's break it down real quick, right? And then you divide that by the average order, you divide that by the closing percentage, and that tells you the total number of demos they need to complete. And then it becomes so much more fun because it's, hey, how many demos do you need to do? Does that make sense? And it's so much easier for them to see that picture and understand it. The second way to break down a goal is the competitive goal. For reps who are really competitive and motivated and they love recognition, figure out what they want to achieve. Do they want to hit Dirty 30? Do they want to get the Handside President's Club letter? Do they want to earn the ability to win a scholarship? Do they want to earn the right to be an assistant manager or a leader? And do you have standards for that, right? And breaking that down. What would you like to be at by the end of blank? And choose a CPO goal for them. Choose a promotion goal. Sometimes there's no promotion at that goal. There's just a number that they've got in their head. You know, it's so funny. I see reps out of training. They go through their, training, and they come in and sit for the day one of PC. They're like, what do you want to sell for your faster? Oh, 30 grand, bro. But they have no idea what kind of work it takes to get there, right? So your job is to help instruct them and teach them that, right? Breaking down their numbers per week in order to hit that goal and say, hey, here's what's cool. 3 demos a week equals $3,000 in income. Or 5 demos a week equals your 20K promotion. How great would it feel to put on your resume that you hit 5 promotions, you made $5,000, right? You got over a 300% raise, you XYZ, all the other accolades, right? Isn't that awesome? Let's write that down and see what that would feel like. Cool? And the last big thing we talk about is their schedule goal. This is popular during the school year, or it's popular during summer when we have a lot of PRs that already have another job, but they're working this one around it, making money, right? So for reps who have busy schedules or feel like they're too busy, this is great. Filling out their weekly activity schedule, putting in all their schooling, all their studying, all their church time, all their family time, right? Getting that down first, and then saying, cool, let's look at what's left over. All right, great. So it looks like you could comfortably do 5 demos a week. And if things really were packed, you could probably do 7. So let's go ahead and shoot for 7. But if we knew 5, we'll be okay. If you're doing 5 demos a week, have you ever thought about where that would take you? And then you break down the numbers to get them there, right? 5 demos a week times blank amount of weeks, right? And you work that through for the summer, or you work that through for the semester. But here's one thing that's fact. There are currently 17 weeks left for the year. 15, right? I'm going to say this, I'll stop sharing my screen. 17 weeks left for the year. If you take midterms week off and you take finals week off, there are 15 weeks you're actually working. Guys, if a representative is doing just 5 demos a week, they're going to knock out 75 appointments. With below average numbers, guaranteed they're hitting 10K in Dirty 30. Yes? And to be honest, with our office and division averages, 3 demos a week equals 10K. 3 times 15, 45 demos, 80% close, 36 sales, right? In an 80% or in a $300 average order, $11,000 bucks. That's nuts to me. It's nuts to me at how simple that can be. But the key to it is being consistent. Fair enough? Sweet. Questions, concerns, comments, feedback from other managers? All right. Well, here's the thing.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Will we be getting those papers from our manager, like from our office? Or
You should
can
be.
on him?
Or you can check your email, and I've sent them out to everybody who's on my development list right now. If you did not get my email, then go ahead and text me your exact email, and I can forward it to you. But all of the documents I'm reviewing are in your email. So great question, Kinsey.
All right, thank you.
Good. Any others or feedback?
Just an extra tip. Sometimes if you have a rep who, really is just stuck on that I don't have anyone, doing the source and lead thing where you go through their phone and making them put everybody in 1 or 2 categories just to also show them that they had extra people too.
It's huge. And I kind of referred to that, but that's a great reminder, right? If they haven't, you basically sit down and you say, hey, give me your phone. Trust me, all I'm going to go through is your contacts. We're going to start at the top of the A's, right? Who is out? Tell me about them. And I know it might take 30 minutes, and it's like pulling teeth to get them to do it, but you put them in 1 and 2 categories, and that's evidence and proof that just off the neighbors in your phone right now, look at what we've got as potential. So really good reminder. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, to stay on track, we've got Claire Beckman, and Claire is the pilot manager this last summer for the Edmond office. And Claire has now been in the business for over 3 years. Heard about the job from a friend originally from Denver, going up to Kansas. And she's now on a mentoring program with a top-level Hall of Fame CSP named Matt Foss. She's committed to going after her biggest campaign ever while taking the most school ever in a territory that she didn't have a lot of leads in. And she is somebody who is really, really jamming to be able to earn one of the top-level offices next year and turn some heads and break some records. She's also one of the best we've ever had at running interviews, and I believe in our division has the highest overall show to training average out of anybody since I've opened up here in Great Plains. So I asked her to do a review of the pre-interview, the purpose of it, and then of course do a little bit of role playing before we wrap up our meeting and our recording. So thank you so much, Claire, for your preparation, for your time. I know you're coming to us live from Kansas, but we are fired up. We are all ears, and I'm going to go ahead and throw on the pin for you, and the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Well, hey everyone, I'm excited to talk to you guys about the interview. I love running interviews. I kind of have been just treating it like a game every single time you interview someone. Quickly you can tell after the interview if they're going to show or not to training, and so it's really fun on Thursdays or Fridays, whatever the first day is, to see who all shows up, and that boosts your confidence a lot. So with the pre-screen interview specifically, this is what sets the tone for the rest of the interview. And so I think, in my opinion, like the pre-interview and the post are the most important parts of it, and then the video kind of just helps with that part. But what I think about before I run an interview is I put myself in the shoes of the person that I'm interviewing them. And the reason for that is because most times these people that are coming in got a random text. They're not really sure what this is. They might be a little sketched out, whatever. And so you have to place yourself in their shoes and understand that they might be coming in with a lot of hesitancy. And so it's your job to make them feel comfortable and build a relationship, and then give them the confidence that they're in good hands. And so with the video and the script alone, that's not going to give you a 50% plus show. You're the one that gets yourself that 50% show. And so you just have to think to yourself and adapt that mindset about how bad do you want to have a good show. We're not just running interviews to run interviews. And it bothers me when managers don't take it seriously. And don't waste your time too. Like if you already have it blocked out in your schedule to run an interview, you might as well do your best at it. And then also practice with friends. I love that Bailey mentioned that. You could accidentally recruit your friends this semester just if you practice the interview with them and just go through the whole thing, show them the video and do the post, and just treat it like they're an actual applicant. You might find them actually interested and be like, how do I do this? So that could also be a benefit for practicing this. So I'll get into everyone or into everything. So the first thing before I start going over the actual script is number one on keys is confidence. So some things to ask yourself is, do you carry yourself like you're the one being interviewed, or are you the interviewer? And so it's normal to be nervous at first when you're running your first couple interviews. I remember I was freaking out when I had to run my first one. When I personally, for me, and I know there's a couple other managers that it was the same way back then, but my first interview that I ran, we didn't have a video. So for about a year, I was running interviews and walking through an entire slideshow. I had this script that was really thick. I'm sure Nick back in the old Vector days, he had like 60-page script interviews. And so a lot of the programs and stuff have developed, and it's made it so easy for you to recruit. And so you should take advantage of that and enjoy the fact that you don't have to put as much effort into this. And so it gives you the opportunity for the pre and the post and the stump speech to give it 100%. And so have that mindset that you're the ish. And so when I'm talking to someone, or just I would say I'm kind of an intuitive person. So when I meet someone, I can quickly identify if they're confident or if they're insecure. And most people have that skill. And so what are they going to, when the person walks in for the interview, what is their initial view of you? Like, what do they think? And so you have to tell yourself, even if you don't feel confident in running the interviews, you have to tell yourself that you're the best interviewer in the division or in the country, just because that helps a lot. Another thing that I do before I start my interviews and start preing people is I do body language exercises, and this might sound weird, but it works. But I'll like stand against a wall and put my hands on my hips, and just it opens up your body language, and it helps you also feel more confident, weirdly enough. And then also when you're interviewing them, they feel more comfortable and also respect you more as the interviewer. And then you have to mentally prepare too. And so you should never run an interview without knowing how many people are set for it, which PRs are who in your office, if they were set by conveyor or if an assistant manager set them. Just those little things helps you know what you're doing throughout the interview and feel prepared. Also, you ultimately have the power to change this individual's life. And so just think, if Nick, when he had his interview before he started working for Cutco, what if the person that interviewed him showed up and was just like not looking the best, dressed, doesn't seem super confident, maybe had looked a little sketchy? But do you think that Nick probably would have showed up to training? He probably wouldn't have. And so he wouldn't be the division manager now. So I think that it's important to think that way about every person you interview, is that they could be the next DVM or top branch manager or whatever. So now number 2 is I have the application. So you have the applications that everyone fills out. So you should read over every application before you sit down with them. And so that goes apart with second manning. So having a person second manning and collecting the applications as they fill them out. So then that way you can just look over it, because you first can identify if you have any 17-year-olds that you need to pre out, but then also so you can just map out how you're going to pre them and what questions you want to ask. Because you wouldn't ask, like, if maybe like an older person came in, you would not ask them what they're majoring in and what they want to do for their dream job. That'd be a really offensive question, or just like not make any sense. So you just want to make sure you know what you're doing. And then next part with the application is mark it up. I read something once is that when the interviewer is writing stuff down on the application, it's just a psychological thing with the interviewee. They feel more important, like they're being heard. Everyone wants to be heard. And so mark it up. Use like red pen or blue pen or whatever and write big. I always do that, or I'll circle stuff and like dot it. So make sure that you're doing that, and it's not a bad thing to do that. It also helps you remember what they say. There's times that I've forgotten to write certain things down, and then it would be 10 people in the interview, and by the time I get to the post, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I forgot what they said, with some of the questions I was asking. So write down what they say. And then also mark on there on the top of the application if they're a 1-star, 2-star, or a 3-star. 1 star is kind of a low flyer, 2 stars average, and 3 stars high flyer. So also their source and how they heard about it, if they're PR, internet, and then also put your name at the bottom, so that way when you're doing training confirmation calls, you remember who you interviewed. Number 3, and this is a big one, and I would probably attest, like, this is probably the reason that I have a 50% show for trainings, and it's the relationship and asking the right questions. Obviously the script has questions on there, but I think that you can ask even better questions sometimes, and just get them talking. That's all you want. So first part of that is, are you genuinely interested in what they have to say, or are you not listening? Because I've had times too, like I'm guilty of this, where I haven't really been listening to them or been interested because they might not seem like the sharpest applicant or whatever. So you should give everyone the time of day. It was really eye-opening at SC2 to see that rep from McAllen. He had to be 70 or something, and he was one of the top performers for push. He sold over 10K. This 60-year-old dude. So you never know. And there has been times where I've done that, where I haven't really given someone a shot. And so make sure that you listen to everyone and really hear them out. So, and then now for the questions. So these are some things you might want to write down just on additional questions that you can ask. But when you first sit down with them, you need to ask them like how they heard about Vector. And then also be name dropping too. So like if they say they went to Memorial High School, you can be like, oh my gosh, do you know JJ Ruff or Daniel Beckman, or start throwing out names, and that just helps even more. And this is all before they know anything about Cutco. So you want to give them more and more confidence. Like treat this like a demo. You're building value before you get into the actual features and benefits and building rapport with them. Here's some other questions. So what are you looking for in a job besides money? If you just ask, what are you looking for in a job, they're going to say income. Well, no crap, genius. Like everyone's looking for a job to make money. Like that's just, so you have to guide them and that way they answer right. What's your ultimate goal or dream in life? I love that question. That's just everyone's answer to that is super fascinating to me. I ask that to people that I just meet, randomly at school, like over the past couple weeks. That's been a common question of mine when I'm getting to know new people, and it gets them talking. That's something that they're passionate about. Sometimes they might not know, and that gives you the opportunity for the post to kind of help them see how Vector can help with that. So that's why that question is good too. If a loved one could describe you in one significant word, what would they use? And that kind of goes along with like, what's your strongest quality or character trait? But I've found that sometimes that confuses people. I don't know why. They're always like, sometimes. So I've started to just be more specific about how I ask that. And everyone knows the answer to that too. So next thing is, what are you passionate about? So all of these questions are just ammo for the post screen. This is why you're writing down all of their answers too. If you ask them what their dream job is, like write that down. And then the next part to the relationship building is just find the balance between a boss and a peer, because a lot of these people that you're interviewing, they're either going to be, you know, a little bit younger, same age, or older than you in some cases. So you don't want to come across condescending, and yes, you're the interviewer, but at the same time, you're probably the same age as them. And I just think if I went into an interview and I was meeting with another college student, they're just like acting like they're way better than me, it would be a huge turnoff. And so you just have to be relatable to them. And you also have to be professional too. So like, don't be cursing or anything like that, but share some stuff about you, you know, and you don't have to go into detail because you talk about that during the stump. But if when you ask them where they're from or whatever, you're like, oh, I'm from Denver, Colorado. That's nice. How do you like Oklahoma? And just build rapport with them like you would in a demo. And then the last part that I have on here for number 4 is set yourself up for success. So this is one thing that I think once I started doing this and improved my show a lot. So don't withhold information about what we do. You know, like that's just, even on the phone with like the PR calls and stuff, sometimes you don't have to withhold information. Be straight up. We're the freaking Rolex of the kitchen. We're the Rolls Royce of the kitchen. We're the best damn product in the world. So like, why would you not just tell them what we do? So, and obviously the video goes over this, but this just gives them some peace before, like, they just don't really know what they're walking into. So think about if you walked into a random office with no clue what you're walking into, and then the manager sat down with you in the and then didn't give you any information about the position after you first talked to them, what would you be thinking? So I always think about that. So main thing that I ask, and this is part of the script, but I just elaborate a little bit more. And so when you ask them, have you ever heard about Cutco? Typically the answer is no. And so you're like, oh, really? So really what we do is just American-made knife company. So we've been around since 1949. So we sell about $250 million every year. But the coolest thing about Cutco is that we're forever guaranteed. So if anything ever chips, cracks, or breaks, dulls, you can send it back and get it fixed and replaced for free. And that's forever. So you don't even need a receipt, and you can pass down generation to generation. If you've seen Jumanji or The Walking Dead, we're actually a producer of K-Bar, and so you've probably seen our knives actually in some Hollywood productions. So that's even that, just like the thing about K-Bar, everyone always smiles about that. They're what, really? So give them pique their interest basically. So, and then the next part is give them the rundown about how the interview is going to go, and what's going to play out. So most of the time they don't know what's going on. And so you just have to let them know this is an initial pre-interview. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to go watch a 19-minute video. It's a lot better than me talking. I would talk your ear off for an hour if I tried to explain the whole position. So the video keeps it short and simple. And then after, I'll tell you a little bit about my story so you can get to know me. And then we'll just come back in here at the end and go over everything and make a final decision. How's that sound? Then they know what's going on. So they're not just sitting, going through this interview for an hour and a half, 2 hours with being super confused about how this whole process is going. People like to be in control, so you have to give them a little bit of control. Just a little bit of a fraction of that. Okay. So, Nick, you have on there that you want me to just do a quick role play?
Yeah, you can do that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'll kind of just walk through. Extra thing is, same thing with the demo. You always need to have a script. Like if you go into an interview without a script, what are you doing? Especially if you haven't run more than
script, get it out. By the way, everybody should have their script already. It looks like this. I know that I'm not pinning it right now, but I'm going to leave you on the pin. But you should have your interview packet out. And if you don't have one, raise your hand. I'll get you one. And if you still don't have one, you're on virtual. Then here's the deal. You can go ahead and get one from your email because it should have been sent out. So I will be your applicant. I heard about the job from Bailey. I'll be a PR because that's our biggest recruiting source.
Cool. Sweet. So yeah, have your script out, and then you guys make your script your own and put your name at the top and write in some of those extra additional questions that you want to ask. Just that way you're always prepared. I think I looked over this past summer, I interviewed 284 people, and every single time I had my script in front of me. So use the script. All right. All right, Nick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Doing good. Awesome.
A little nervous.
So tell me, how did you hear about the job?
One of my friends works here, Bailey. He's pretty cool.
Bailey's awesome. He's actually one of our top reps in the division.
Really?
Yeah. How do you guys know each other?
Just through school. Well, we worked together in the past too, but yeah, mainly school.
Mainly school. Cool. So you went to SNU?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Nice. Do you happen to know Anna Groeschel?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not close with her, but I know of her.
Yeah, Anna actually, so she started working here last year, and she sold like $40,000 over the semester, and almost won a scholarship. It was really cool. So, tell me what you're looking for in a job besides money.
I mean, really, I already have another position, but I need some extra cash. But other than that, just something flexible that'll work with my other employer. And then, I mean, honestly, I just want a cool place to work, that I enjoy going to.
Sweet. And what do you want? What's your dream job? What are you wanting to do?
Yeah, I mean, I really want to do something that has to do with just people and just something that, I feel like I can teach or I can help or I can serve. So maybe something in the church, maybe being a teacher. I haven't really figured it out yet.
All right. Well, you have some time. So with how you want to work with people, have you had any other kinds of experiences doing that?
Yeah, I mean, the current job I work at right now is at Frontier City, and it's pretty good. And I mean, they treat me well. It's just hot, in the day. And so, yeah, but I work with a lot of people there. And then I've also done another job in, Chick-fil-A and stuff like that.
Yeah. So pretty crazy, I'm sure, at times working there, and interesting people that come through.
Yeah. It's most people are nice, but sometimes they're hangry.
I bet. Yeah. Well, sweet. So, would you consider yourself a positive person?
Definitely, yeah. I have to be to work at my two jobs, and typically I'm a guy giving high fives and pumping people up if they're having a bad day.
Well, of course, yeah. Well, we don't work with negative people, so that's a good thing.
Cool.
Nick, if you had a position available, would you be able to start training right away?
Yeah, I'd want to. It just needs to work around my employer, but I can probably work things out.
Oh, well, we have really flexible schedules here, so that shouldn't be a problem. And what would you say if a loved one would describe you with one significant word, what would that be?
Oh, man. Probably just, like, passionate or, just positive.
Awesome.
I guess that's two words, but they both start with a P.
Well, there you go. So have you had the chance to read through that position description on the back?
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Great. So tell me, have you ever heard about us before in the past, or besides Bailey telling you about it?
Yeah, Bailey did a demo for one of my friends, so I kind of watched it a little bit, and it's like the scissors that cut pennies, but not. I don't know much other than the fact that it's knives.
Okay. Well, basically, what Bailey does and what our representatives do is they work with our customers one-on-one, answer questions, show them our products, and help them place their orders. Our product's called Cutco, which you know already, but just some extra facts about Cutco, besides what you do already know, is that we've actually been around since 1949, and we sell about $250 million every year, and that keeps increasing every single year, which is awesome. And then we're forever guaranteed. So if anything ever chips, cracks, breaks, dulls, anything that you can think of, you can send it back and get it fixed and replaced for free. So we have a really big focus on customer service and making our people happy. And have you seen like Jumanji or The Walking Dead?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we produce K-bar knives, and so a lot of those shows and movies use K-bar, which is just a fun fact about us.
Nice.
So do you feel comfortable working with customers one-on-one? I'm sure with you liking to work with people.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, great. So just so you can know kind of what we're going to do and how the process is going to go is I want you to stay for the main portion of this interview. So we're just going to watch a 19-minute video. It's going to go through all the details, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions still, so it should cover all of that for you. But just so you know, if you have any other questions, right here on the back of this position description, feel free to write down anything that might not be covered by the video. And then right after that, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my experience because I'm a college student. I've been working here for 3 years. I've actually worked with Cutco in 3 different states. And so I have a lot of experience just, starting and then starting over again and figuring it out. And then also working as a full-time college student. I'm taking 18 credits and it can be kind of crazy. So I would love to tell you my experience. So I'll just have you go wait back in that room that you're filling out your application in, and I'm going to meet with the last couple people, and then we'll finish up.
Sweet. Sounds great.
And there you go.
All right. Let's give Claire a huge round of applause. Very solid. I know it's sometimes tough to unmute ourselves and say nugget and things like that. The only thing I would add to that is letting them know that today's not a competition. I'm not looking for one person. I'm looking for the right types of people. So definitely make sure you socialize, get involved, and talk to some others so it's not so uncomfortable. Sound good? Great. And then, again, big handshake. I'll walk you out, and then you grab the next person. So a little bit different when you do a 2-on-1 versus 1-on-1, but we can definitely, cover that at a later time. So, thank God. All right, so very good. Well, great stuff from Claire. Thank you so much. I know we went a little bit over on time, but I was looking at the clock, and what's interesting is that role play was a little bit more specific, but only took about 3 to 4 minutes. And again, with these smaller interviews, you want to give people the respected time because that really can increase your show to training, no doubt. Talk to your manager about how to look up your show to training on Vector Live and make sure that you are in a position where you're either practicing a full interview or running a full interview every single week, right? Either one can work. So real quick, we're going to wrap up the recording, and then we've got a little bit of work to do before we jump back on the division meeting at 6:45. But please put this down in your notes. There were 4 assignments that you should have had going into today already accomplished. These were promoted back at the Leadership Academy #1 in August. Those of you who this is your first recording or first one you've been a part of, then you probably didn't know about them, but here's what they were, right? So first Leadership Academy assignment we had for you was to record your pre-interview. And I had a question from some candidates recently. Well, I'm not running active interviews. Do I still need to do that? Yes, you still need to do it, right? Run an interview for a stuffed animal or run an interview for, your cat or something like that, but you need to do it, right? And the best part about recording yourself and then uploading it and sending it to us is once you've done that, you're going to be able to watch that recording again 6-8 months down the road before you're on your first office and be like, holy crap, look at who I used to be, right? You'll make a lot of progress. All right, number 2 assignment is, and you need to send that to your DM and to me so we can give you feedback. Number 2, send your weekly schedule. We need a template. When are you in school? When are you doing your other job? When are you at church? When are you studying? When are your demo times? When are your phone times? What are you committed to every week? So that way, if you have a week that is not up to your expectations, we know why, and we can look at that, right? And you need to work with your manager on what that looks like. Number 3, sign up for Olean. I did want to do some quick recognition right now, but Adam Goff, Brandon Cobb, Britton Northcutt, Cade Lukens, Kinsey Borelli, Maddie Harris, Seth Fry, Tommy Hins, and Vanessa Rose all officially signed up for Olean. I know we also have people like Ayame and Claire and Jerry and people that have already been and can't really go again. Eric Soto is a part of that, possibly could, depending on what his future decision would be. But if you have not signed up for Olean, time is ticking. Get signed up ASAP, and when you do, post in the group me. All right, number 4 is your sales goal for the fall. I want to know 3 things, right? Number 1, I want to know how many demos you plan to complete. Okay, number 2, how many sales do you plan to do, right? And number 3, how many leads do you currently have? So I guess we could change that around, but what are your leads, right? How many demos, and what's your sales goal for the fall? Okay, that way I can help you track it and I can help you go after it. Please make sure that before the division meeting, you take out your phone and you post your few biggest takeaways from today. I think that if we put that in GroupMe, we can all review what were the big takeaways, right, from the whole meeting. And then the last thing is, right now you've got 15 minutes, probably about 30 before we start division meeting, which is an amazing agenda and a push period with free Cutco, because the only thing better than Cutco is what?
Free.
Yeah, it's going to be great. But you need to spend the next 15 minutes role-playing the pre-interview with a partner back and forth and getting some feedback from the manager and or breaking down your goal for the fall in small groups. So we're going to partner you up. Those of you who don't have a partner, don't jump into what you need to do next. Take this 15 minutes that we've granted you, right, and role-play the pre-interview a few times and make sure that you break down some of your goals on paper and you know what they look like. So other than that, our next Leadership Academy, please put it in your notes. please put it in your notes, is going to be on the 26th. Every time of September, every time we have a Leadership Academy, right afterwards is a division meeting. And then the 4 days after the division meeting are what we call a push period with an opportunity for you to win free Cutco. That being said, plan to make a ton of calls leading into that so you can have a big sales weekend for that timeline, okay? September 26th. They're all on a Thursday, 4 to 6:30 p.m. So make sure those are in your schedule. And then, of course, guys, other than that, let's get you to 600 plus in startup. Let's get it to 6,000 plus in sales. I want a bunch more people to go to Olean, and we want to take, I have the opportunity to take 35 to 40 people to Olean. It is not too late to get signed up, and it's certainly not too late for you to earn yourself the right to have a seat. So let's make that happen for sure. Thanks for a great Leadership Academy. Thank you to Bailey. Thank you to Claire. Thank you to all of our guest speakers. And thank yourself for being part of the most exciting and rewarding company in America. And also, thank yourself for being a part of one of the fastest growing divisions in America. Let's go after 4 million in 2020, and let's make this thing really count. Cool? Other than that, guys, I'll stop the recording now. Uh-oh.